has filed this petition, and so they have the burden of proof and will go first. Each witness that they call will testify in response to questions asked by counsel, Ms. Johnson. And then respondent's counsel, Mr. Patel, will have a chance to question those witnesses as well in cross-examination. When the petitioner is finished calling all the witnesses they intend
Great,
to
we're
call,
just jumping right in like it's a chase,
and then the
baby.
respondent can choose
Right in.
whether
It's
to
starting.
present
It's live,
witnesses
and we're
what
here. Welcome to
witnesses
We Got
and
It.
in what order to present witnesses.
Yeah, this is DeKalb County, of course, in Georgia. I've already recorded one from earlier today that we'll watch on another occasion, but I figured since this one is about to go live, which is really the last one, the people were from another country, but they spoke English and things like that. And it looks like maybe we're going to have another one of those situations. I'm not really sure. Hopefully this will be entertaining. It's live, so we will not be pausing, but we will try and do our absolute best, Creed. Pinky promises. We're swearing that we'll do our best to not step all over it. We may, if need be, if there's so many donos today, if we have to, we'll wait till there's a lull in the action. If you want to be part of the Taco Tuesday Express, now is your chance to climb on board. Should be an exciting time, Creed. On with the show.
Okay, have you and Mr. Patel had a chance to review that together or exchange that at all?
Yes, we have.
Okay, Mr. Patel, do you need that witness to remain just for if it is truly a foundational thing, or are you comfortable with what you've seen that person could be released?
I don't think it's a foundational thing. I don't know how they're going to authenticate something they didn't create. So I need that witness.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. And I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson, did you say you would start with Mr. Chandler?
Well, if the court wishes, I can start with that witness so we can not belabor that issue. I believe she is
available and ready.
So let me get her to.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, is whether they were in the waiting room or whether they were somewhere else.
Yes, it is, Michael.
She is with DFACS. So
And
I heard she's already testimony. So
She's a dog.
Is that that we heard? I don't know, but I've just sent a message to my assistant to have her to go ahead and log on.
All right.
Okay, I guess we're gonna wait for this person to show up.
And I don't know, did the court?
Are we getting 90 Day Fiance type stuff today?
I don't know. I'm guessing both people have attorneys.
Diamante, thank you for the 5 bones.
Which is always a interesting aspect. Good to see. They were smart. Thank you, Diamante.
Petition was filed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Just to get that out of the way. All right, we'll give them a few moments to log on.
17R23PO1774 has taken a book from one of our favorite judges, but no purse in the picture.
Yeah, she's stunting. She's stunting, looking good.
Big ass purse next to them flowers, though.
So if she would put them there, are those real flowers or fake flowers? You think?
Fake all the way.
And see, these are the lulls that we were talking about that we would have, where we can say hello to everybody, like Toy Mom and good old Creed.
How about God Rides a Harley comes in and asks what time this starts at?
I saw
you new
that.
Here? You new around here, are you?
And he was pimping out a documentary that you can watch under the same name on his YouTube channel as his screen name.
I believe we call him Old Mikey, no?
Old Man Mikey. If you're going to pimp out the documentary, it better be about Creed and myself. That's all I got to say. It better be about us.
Yeah, they're fake.
They look fake. The flowers or the people. And what's up with Judge I mean, what are we gonna call him? Judge Dude? Judge
No, we got-
Wow?
Nah, it's got to be an Amish name. He looks more Amish than anything to me.
Judge Ishmael? His hair, man. It's slightly greasy at times, I feel like. Just
Shawarma.
a little. Judge Shawarma. Maybe.
What are we doing? So we're waiting for. Okay.
There
we're
we
waiting
go.
for
Waiting for Lisa Lampanelli. Oh, leopard. Sorry, I read that wrong. Beautiful glasses, by the way.
All right. Good afternoon. Ma'am, I've sent you a prompt to unmute. And if you would, could you please raise your right hand for me? Do you swear any statements you make to the court today will be the truth under penalty of perjury?
Write it down. Shell owes us
I
money.
do.
Thank
Got it.
you. And you can put your hand down. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Preemptive, hallelujah.
Lisa Leopard,
All right, Miss Leopard, where are you employed?
Judge Yoder.
DeKalb County DFACS,
All right, and how long have you worked there?
since May of 22.
All right. And counsel, I'll turn it over to you. I think we're working on pulling up Exhibit 7 and we'll screen share when we have that ready.
Okay. Ms. Leopard, they are pulling up the FMLA document that you signed. It looks like it was signed and dated by you in February. And once it's pulled up, I'd like you to take a look at it and just authenticate that it is the document that you completed and signed on behalf of Mr. Chandler for Federal Family Medical Leave Act.
They went black.
Family Medical Leave Act. Do you have a baby?
Yeah,
the way.
that looks like it.
Okay.
Is
and
it
the
me or
clerk,
is the
if you
judge
could,
seem like
scroll through the
maybe he's
pages.
been on a blind date with Lisa before? Him and Lisa.
He's too
On a
busy
date.
building barns to be dating.
Yeah,
Okay. And that is your signature on the fourth page.
yes, ma'am.
And you actually completed this document yourself, correct? On your assessments thus far.
Yes,
I need that.
And at this, based on this document, which is dated, oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I moved to it 9687.
Afternoon, Lisa.
No objection.
Okay. So admitted.
And Ms. Leopard, last question, just to confirm, based on this document on this page we're looking at right now, there is an open DFACS case that relates to the minor child, correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Miss Leopard, when you say there's an open DFACS case, what does that mean?
There's an open case about the family.
Okay, does that mean that either parent is under investigation for some sort of wrongdoing?
No, not necessarily, no.
Okay, in this case, does it mean that either parent is under investigation?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, is there an open investigation against Ms. Hargraves?
No, their case is not an investigation. It's a family support case.
All right, and so can you tell us what a family support case means?
Yeah, so it doesn't rise to the level of an investigation. It just means that we came in, did an assessment, and felt like the family needs services that we could offer.
And what services were those that you suggested to offer?
Counseling for the children
And
and
to,
for Ms. Hargrave.
and to your knowledge, has Ms. Hargraves, or to your knowledge, has the child been enrolled or started any sort of counseling?
Yes,
And who was the person that started that? Who was the person that got the child started into the counseling?
I did.
Well, and what parent is assisting the child in that?
They both are at the moment.
All right. And in any part of your, services case, is it meant to say that either parent has been abusive or is the child is not safe with that parent?
I don't know if I can say that. I mean, I don't even know if I'm allowed to be here today, technically, according to DFACS. I was just coming on to say that I did complete the FMLA document for Mr. Chandler.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm technically allowed to say.
Uh-oh. Somebody's getting in
I mean,
trouble.
I suppose you could subpoena DFACS records if you needed to. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say.
All right. Well, this FMLA request, this form was prepared at Mr. Hargrave or Mr. Chandler's request, correct?
Yes.
And if Ms. Hargraves came and requested a similar form, you would have prepared the same thing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Your Honor, speculation.
She's in trouble. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here today.
He's asking her to speculate, prepare the same form and assumption that it would include the same information.
I can
Would
rephrase the
Miss-
question.
Yeah, Miss Leopard, would anything preclude Miss Hargraves from making the same request Mr. Chandler did?
Not that, I mean, I guess if she has a job that requires, FMLA, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
What is the purpose of this form that you made?
He needed to take time off to be with the daughter.
And do you know what happens with the form when you give this back to the parent?
He was going to submit it to HR so that he could take time off. That was my understanding.
Her being
All right.
here was
Do
good,
the
though. I thought that
contents of
case was
this
bad.
form
Yeah.
have anything
mean-
to do with your actual services being provided? Or is this form made because of the services you're provided or only because Mr. Chandler asked for it?
I think it's both. I know that the little girl needs help, but also, he could have got, I guess, a medical provider or anyone else to fill it out for him. But he asked me to do it because, the little girl is the one who needs the help right now. So he asked me and I completed it.
All right. Is there anything in this form that you intended to imply that Mr. Chandler is the only one that is capable of providing help?
Good luck, who's Hanson. Safe travels.
I don't know that I can answer
Where you
that.
going, bud?
Okay.
By the way, who's handsome? 25 bones right there, as you can see it on the monetary monorail.
Just one moment, Your Honor.
Thank you, who's handsome. I hope you enjoy your travels. No, but
Has there been any indication while, since you've been providing services that Mr. Hargraves has not provided help to the child as requested or suggested by DFACS?
Spit it out, please. Jesus.
I don't know if she even knows the answer to that.
Can you ask me that again?
Yeah. So has there been any indication, in your work with the family that Miss Hargraves has not provided the help to the child as suggested by DFACS?
Well, Robert,
I don't know that I can answer that.
May I ask why?
Because I don't know if I'm allowed to.
She's gonna get herself in trouble at work.
You're here as a witness under oath who's been sworn in to tell the truth.
I
You've-
know, but
you've been
I
subpoenaed.
think the SAG would tell me not. First of all, I don't even know if I'm allowed to be here. I was told I was just going to answer did you complete the FMLA document? That's all I was told I was going to answer.
Well, he has a
So,
right to cross-examine witnesses that come to testify against his client or offer evidence. And in this case, the attorney for the petitioner is offering this form as evidence. So what I can tell you is that Mr. Patel represents Ms. Hargraves. And so anything he asks you about Ms. Hargraves, you have the consent of the parties to answer and answer truthfully and completely.
Better tell the truth.
That
Creed.
is, I don't
But I
believe. Go ahead.
But I don't know if the SAG would, consent to me being here without their permission.
And what role do they play in that process?
They're the attorney for DFACS. They represent the division. I know when I've got subpoenaed before, they have not let me come to court. They have represented me in court. So I'm not sure, like I said, if I'm even allowed to do this.
Judge, if I may, that might be the case, but the fact of the matter is she's here. So
yeah, here's the question I want to ask for my clarification first.
On it.
And this one is a pretty straightforward one. On page 3 of the document, it says, Mr. Chandler's daughter is in urgent need of mental health services for a specific condition. He'll have to make weekly scheduled appointments and maintain her school schedule. Needs 24-hour monitoring. He needs time off from work. What is the reason that Ms. Hargraves is not listed there?
Hey, Georgia Peach.
Georgia. They've stumped her.
Because that's what he asked me to write.
Okay. So were you aware of the existence of the protective order at the time that you prepared the form?
I was aware that they were going through like a custody dispute, but no, I wasn't aware of like anything where he was going to go get the little girl and it was going to be all this. Like I knew they were having a custody issue.
So two different options here. Option one, the form just only references Mr. Chandler because the form is about Mr. Chandler's ability to get off work. Option two is you had some knowledge that he was seeking or obtaining custody via the TPO or otherwise. So does the form only reference Mr. Chandler because it only deals with Mr. Chandler's employment?
Yes.
Okay.
I knew when I went out to the home for the assessment that, they both talked about, like the divorce and custody and issues like that. I didn't know when I wrote this form that it was going to be all of this. I just thought like, oh, he needs some time off. He wants to take time off work. I had no idea it was going to land me in court and it was going to be this fighting back and forth. I thought like, oh, he just wants to take a few weeks off work. Okay. Yeah, I'll sign it. Tell me what you want me to write.
Oh, and no, don't
Okay.
cancel.
Counsel,
No,
do you,
no,
Mr.
no,
Patel,
no,
any
no.
other questions?
no, Your Honor, I have no other questions.
Brief redirect, Your Honor.
Sure.
Ms. Levin, so is it your testimony that you don't necessarily agree with what you wrote and signed in here? You just wrote it because it's what he told you to write?
That's what she just said.
No, I believe that Mr. Chandler is an excellent parent. I want to make that clear. I believe that he is a good parent to his daughter. I do also believe, and I want to make this clear, I do believe that Ms. Hargraves needs some serious help.
Oh,
I'm not a doctor.
shoot.
I don't know what kind of help she needs, but I do believe that she needs some help. I do believe, just from being around the family I was there for 6 or more hours that day.
huh.
She has a lot going on. I don't think it's like she had her and 2 children holed up in one room. She refused to let her child interact with the dad, which is not okay. She needs to be evaluated. She needs to be assessed in some capacity. like withholding the child from the dad. Like
Prodding.
and the little girl wants to see her dad. Like she loves her dad. She made that clear to me when I talked to her.
Oh no, Mavis.
So sorry, man.
But Miss Hargraves, I mean, she's a lovely lady. She's very nice. She's very kind. But I do believe that she has something going on where she needs to be assessed.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms.
Much so
Leopard.
that
We're
my
going to place
wife
you in the
left.
waiting room and then you'll be free to log off from there.
Good
Thank
thing
you.
she did. She could end up looking like that lady.
All right.
So she ended up being pretty valuable.
Counsel, who would your
She
next
did.
witness be?
Very hostile.
Mr. Chandler.
But I think he was prodding her to
Alright.
get that right there
Mr.
out
Chandler,
of her.
you've been sworn in, so you'll have a prompt to unmute there once
She
you've
may get in
clicked it.
trouble. I'm not gonna lie. I would think maybe
Counsel,
her
you
work
can
would not
begin
be
when you're
happy
ready.
about what few things she said.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm
Chandler,
so
how old are
sorry,
you?
man. That's awful.
I'm 51 years old.
And where do you reside?
6899 Old Fox Trail in Stone Mountain,
And that's DeKalb County, correct?
Cap County, yes.
And you're the same Ishmael Chandler that filed this petition for a temporary protective order against Hannah Hargraves on or about February 6th of 2023, correct?
Correct.
Can you state for the court the name and age of your daughter?
Asia Fatima Chandler, and she's 5 years old. She'll be 6 this month. Next month.
And please explain briefly to the court what occurred around that time to cause you to request a protective order against Ms. Hargraves.
Okay, well, she I knew she was leaving, and she had been systematically packing up as keeping the kids confined in a room and things like that. And the day that of the first, she I requested off so I could be with my son because he was sick that day. And around in the evening time, I came out to check my mail. My mail's like on a stand in the hallway, and I saw her coming out of her room, and she says, "This is for the last 7 years," and I had to.
Oh, don't creed frame
Mr.
now.
Chandler?
What happened?
Hello?
What happened? Cliffhanger.
Mr. Chandler frame.
I find it hard to believe he could be this still. I think he might have frozen.
No, Mr. Chandler?
He'll be back.
I know
My
he's
side
a-
is
Hey,
Mr.
Pablo.
Chandler, you froze all the way up.
Pablo.
We missed everything. So the last thing I believe everyone heard was you say, this is for the last 7 years.
Yeah, this is for the
All right.
last 7 years, and she threw a box cutter at me, and the way I
Ooh.
turned, it hit me like in the side of my back,
Ouch.
and I didn't really, get it at that point. I just was looking like there was going to be more, and I looked at, felt my side, and I felt, some wetness right there, and I was bleeding.
Melon.
So I go to.
Not good.
Ouch is right.
Oh,
He's keeping us on the edge of our seats. It's domestic violence. It's scary.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I know
Did you
you
notice
work
he
from
said
home, so
her
I'm not
room,
sure
by the way?
what's going on.
Ooh.
It's
Not
okay.
their
I sit here in
room.
the same
Good.
spot and do this all day, and sometimes it's me.
Good catch.
And so
Mhm.
I certainly know the struggles of dealing with it. So, Mr. Chandler, I thought you were back for a second. We lost you at you were bleeding.
Okay, when I went in my room to deal with the blood, to stop the blood or whatever, and then when I came back, she was gone. I looked in the room, she was gone, and everything else was gone. And we had no issue that day or anything like that. Nothing prompted any. We had no arguments at all. I just didn't understand what just happened, So I called the police after that.
Okay. And did the police actually come and do a report?
Yeah, they came and did a report.
Okay. And was she arrested?
No, they tried to call her, and they did the officer said that they was going to do a warrant.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
From across the room, though.
Okay.
Probably.
She threw it at him.
I'll rephrase the question.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Do you have any personal knowledge as to whether or not there is an outstanding warrant for her arrest?
Yes, per Detective White, Investigator White, there's a warrant.
Okay. And do you know what
For
that
battery.
warrant?
It's for battery, yes.
Okay, thank you. Did you take a picture of your wound?
Yes, I did.
If we could cue up plaintiff's exhibit 1, please. And Mr. Chandler, while the clerk is pulling up plaintiff's 1.
Hey now.
Did you have you've
No
seen this
what?
photo? Is this a true and accurate photo that you took yourself of the wound?
Cage, we're looking at a
after
beautiful back.
You were attacked with the box cutter?
Yes, well, someone else took it, but yes.
Oh, okay, okay. Your Honor, I move to admit this is plaintiff's exhibit 1.
Mr. Patel.
No objection.
All right,
Okay.
admitted.
And so the mark that we see to the left of your hands, is that where the box cutter connected with you?
Yes.
Okay. You also mentioned, I think you up P2. You also mentioned that you were bleeding, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And did you take any photos, or you have any proof of the amount of bleeding?
Other than the shirt and the information that I gave you, the pictures that I gave you, yes.
Okay. Now you see 4 collective photos that I've marked as plaintiff's exhibit 2. And if we could go through the 4 photos, do you recognize these photos?
Yes, that's the shirt that I had on with the blood on it.
And who took these photos?
I took those photos.
Are these true and accurate copies of the photos you took of the shirt you had that day?
Yes.
We're not moved to admit this is plaintiff's exhibit 2.
No objection, Judge.
Thank you, admitted.
Okay. Let me pull this down.
Ruined his favorite Van Halen shirt too, Chris.
Right. Now, Mr. Chandler, you've spoken about the incident with the box cutter. Was anyone else around when she threw the box cutter at you?
My son was in the bathroom, but he didn't see anything.
Okay, all right. And have you and Ms. Hargraves had any other physical altercations between the 2 of you?
Yes. There was a time in October, I think it says here October, when I made that picture, where I tried to, she was braiding my daughter's hair, and it was just kind of rough. You know what I'm saying? She had been like doing her hair all day. Like she conditioned it and detangled it, conditioned it, and it was just an all day process. And my daughter was crying throughout the time where she actually selected to sit down and, got to the point where she could actually do her hair. My daughter was crying the whole time. And she yanked my daughter's head like so hard. She's just being real rough with her.
Ooh,
so what I did was I picked her up and just said, no, she's done. She's done for the day. And that kind of prompted, me and her, a tussle between me and her. And I had my daughter in my arms. And at one point I let my daughter go because she had me in like a headlock or something like that. And she was doing.
Hey, Creed frame again.
Creed frame again. Brushing kids' hairs and be mean. My brother-in-law, his wife used to do that to their kids. She'd be brushing their hair and they'd be whining or something. She'd clunk them in the head with the brush. So I get that.
So we lost you as she had you in a headlock or something.
Okay. Well, she had me in a headlock, but I lost. I put my daughter down at that point. You know what I'm saying? And tried to just got out of the headlock and everything. And
He's Creed framing again. I love this. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Hey, it happens, man. It happens. Is he just outside of Charlotte right now? Maybe that's the coincidence, perhaps. While he's Creed frame, remember to like this video.
Manic that day, or just I think when the days that she does my daughter's hair, it's an all-day process for my daughter, so it's real stressful for her. So she cries the whole time.
Okay. Well, the last thing we heard was that you were in a headlock and you froze again. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
But can you just quickly repeat what you said after that?
Okay. Well, after that, there was a struggle to get my daughter, you know what I'm saying? And I ended up winning the struggle to get my daughter, and I took my daughter in the room, you know what I'm saying? And just, you know, that was the night I locked the door, and that was the night.
Matt
Thank
Weaver,
you.
thank you for the
Okay.
10 memberships.
Has there, are there any other, or have there been any other physical altercations with the two of you?
There have been, but just none that I could actually document. You know what I'm saying? That was the only one that I have documented.
Okay. I'm going to show you what we have marked as Claims Exhibit 3 and ask you if you can identify these photos.
That's the photo of that day.
Okay.
Who's he mean
And
mugging?
photo number 2, the
What are we
same
look-
day.
What are we
Yes.
looking at?
Okay.
I
And
don't know.
who took the, well, it looks like you were taking the photos, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and are these true and accurate photos of you from the day that you just described?
yes.
If we could go back to the first photo, please.
Where are the headlock marks at?
And so, Mr. Chandler, well,
Some
I'm
of his
sorry,
beard
Your Honor, I
rubbed off
move to
his
admit this as Claims Exhibit 3.
right here.
No objection.
Admitted.
Okay, Mr. Chandler, can you describe what's going on with you in this photo?
Well, my eyes swollen.
Oh,
My
okay.
right eye swollen.
Okay.
Okay. I
And
thought you
is
just
it
woke
your
up.
testimony
Mine's killing
that
me.
your right eye is swollen due to Ms. Hargraves?
Yes.
Hello, Amy.
Okay,
On it.
we can pull this down. And when did you say this occurred?
Yeah, October 27th is when I took the picture, is what my phone said. I took the picture on October 27th of 2022.
Okay, thank you. Now, I didn't have an opportunity to conduct an opening, but one of the things that you're asking the court for is for Ms. Hargraves to have to surrender any firearms that she may have and not possess any. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is your reasoning for making that request?
Because she's made threats before, you know, with the gun or whatever. So she's made threats before in
This
front of the
lady owns
kids.
a pew pew? This lady?
Okay, in front of the children.
Yes.
You had an opportunity to record a video related to her threats and your daughter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that is the video that we've marked as Claims Exhibit 4, correct?
Yes.
And before they pull the video up, is it a video that you yourself recorded or someone
Like
else?
video.
Video's always good.
Say it again.
Is it a video that you recorded yourself or someone else?
I recorded.
Okay.
And who
let's
is
see
in the
that
video?
It's
before we
my
talk
daughter.
about-
It's my daughter. Saying
It's you and your daughter, correct?
yes. Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask the clerk to pull up Claims Exhibit 4.
It's a KFB. God, God's a harlot.
Judge, I would state that if it's him and the daughter, the child, then it would be comprised of hearsay, because the child's not a party here, and anything the child says cannot be repeated in this court.
Ooh.
Am I understanding that the respondent is present in the video? That was what I was expecting to see all of them.
The respondent and the child are in the video, and the respondent is recording the video. So he is the proper party to the recording.
Sorry, the petitioner's recording the video.
Sorry, petitioner. I apologize, Your Honor. Yes.
So what's the full list of everyone we're about to see?
You're gonna hear
Fine.
my client and the minor child.
Okay, is Ms. Hargraves present for this?
No,
What is before we watch the video, what does it purport to show, or what would you purport that it shows?
the child is speaking to my client and stating that mommy says she wants to shoot you with a gun.
Oh, see why he doesn't want that.
And my client is having a conversation with the child about it. It's very
Ooh.
short. I think it's maybe 15 seconds.
Judge, I don't care if it was 2 seconds, it's still hearsay.
Yeah, I don't
know if it's hearsay. I mean, if you
Are
have,
you offering it for
uh,
the truth of the matter that she wanted to shoot him?
I'm offering it to explain my client's fear and concern in his request for her to give up any firearms she may have, which this court can order her to do, and to not possess any firearms.
I don't think, and I want to parse this out. I don't think the court can order her to not have firearms. I think the court is required to order her not to have firearms insofar as federal law prohibits any subject of a protective order from having a firearm. I don't think it's discretionary. And so, and I can say that for my part, I have never allowed a recipient of a family violence order to have a gun. I certainly make sure box number 26 is checked every time. So, understanding that the things he's told might be evidence explaining conduct in terms of him filing this order, I'm not going to admit it because I think it's, I think the prejudice substantially outweighs the probative value. And I think the other issue is that in the context of family violence order, it needs to be an actual act of family violence that results in the issuance of the order. So physical violence, trespass, stalking, any felony, but that being communicated through the child is essentially an uncorroborated terroristic threat, which is not actionable in this context. So I don't believe we'll be admitting video.
She still basically got it in
there.
there.
No problem.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
yeah.
So we'll move on.
You know the video exists.
You
You know
have
that's exactly what was
also
said.
made a request that the court have Ms. Hargraves to undergo a psychological evaluation and treatment. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your reasoning for making that request?
Because she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and she chose to manage it herself. And she's not doing this. It's the only thing that ever happened in our relationship that, you know, that I could remember is the bad management of her bipolar disorder. So she's all these things that are occurring are as a result of her not managing it well.
Okay, I understand. And have you had, we've already talked about what happened in February. We talked about what happened in October. Are there any other previous acts that cause concern about her mental or emotional health that you would like to share with the court?
Yes, when we were when we had the baby, she tried to leave the baby at the hospital, and we have on a release form, it says that she wanted to leave the baby at the hospital to go to South Carolina. So DFACS got involved and opened up a case, and they had to actually follow us home. And even after that, Hannah spent time in DeKalb crisis for like almost 2 months, DeKalb crisis and some kind of behavioral health. And she was diagnosed with it, and they brought her, ordered her to, well, they wanted her to take some pills. She never took them. Also, there was another police report where I called the police over because she's got the kids up, you know, like 3 o'clock in the morning and confining them in the room, making them clean up in the room. And I'm trying to advocate for the kids and pull them, you know, out of there. And she's, you know, just being very belligerent and everything. And she's going through one of her, you know, stages then. And I mean,
Okay.
there's been two or three major ones after that weren't documented.
Okay, understood.
Soon.
So if we could pull up plaintiff's exhibit 13 and plaintiff's exhibit 5 in reference to these two.
Okay, while they're pulling that up, do us a favor, like the video. If you're new here, subscribe, drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. I ain't skipped nothing, Flusha. I got here. I start where Creed left off.
This is plaintiff's exhibit 5. It's a little difficult okay, that's probably better. Mr. Chandler, can you describe what Plaintiff's Exhibit 5 is for the court?
That's the police report where the police were called out at 3 a.m. over at our old house because Hannah was confining the children and making them do things that I didn't agree with.
And is this a true and accurate copy of the police report that you received?
Yes.
Why not move to admit this as Plaintiff's Exhibit 5?
Your Honor, I would object to this. It's unauthenticated. He didn't create the document. It's also hearsay.
Not a word.
And in response, Your Honor, as it relates to authentication, I ask the court to direct its attention to OCGA 249901, which states that the requirement of authentication or identification as a condition precedent to admissibility shall be satisfied by evidence sufficient to support a finding that the matter in question is what the proponent claims. And examples of that authentication include the testimony of a witness with knowledge. And my client is a witness with knowledge. He's already testified about what occurred, and his name is listed in this document. As it relates to whether or not it is hearsay, I ask the court to refer to the case of Maloof versus Marta. It's the 2015 case, 330 Georgia Appellate 763, which provides a business records exception for police reports and states that anything that is contained in the police report that constitutes a personal observation of the officer is admissible under the business records exception.
Can I get that cited?
But that's contingent on the other requirements having been satisfied, right?
Right, which is the first thing that I mentioned, the authentication. Again, that's OCGA 249901.
But that's the authentication issue, but that doesn't address the hearsay issue.
The hearsay issue is addressed by, with the business record exception. That's what I just mentioned. Maloof, that says anything contained in the report that constitutes a personal observation of the officer
I can't wait.
may be admitted under the business records exception to hearsay.
But that doesn't cover. Yes, that is correct. But what that skips is everything in 8036 or 90211 that gets you to asking the question about the because that is a question about the contents of the record, or the contents of the record admissible in that, if that's what the contents are.
We're getting pushed on more documents and videos not being allowed in today than we've ever had, Creed.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And
real-
hi, Vicky.
Real quick, I just wanted to shout out the PP from Amy. Thank you so much. Megalulia coming at the end of the show.
Oh my God.
For Amy. Thank you so much, Amy, for the generous gift.
A witness here to testify that it was made at or near the time of the acts, information transmitted by people with personal knowledge and a duty to report, kept in the course of regularly conducted activity, and so on. And the statute in 90211 is set up to get around these issues essentially through what amounts to a discovery process, because we used it regularly years ago when I was a prosecutor, and this code was still, the ink was still drying on it. But you provide it to the other party in advance. They have an opportunity to object to its admissibility, and if they fail to do so or choose not to, then it can be admitted without an authenticating witness. But absent that, I don't think there's someone here to establish that this is a business record, because he doesn't have that direct knowledge. The other thing I want to say is this. I was on the verge of intervening with clarifying questions of my own. Mr. Chandler used the word children. Mr. Chandler, who were the children that you referenced that were up at 3 a.m. in this incident?
Her children. She was
so that I can understand the picture. I'm going to need a first name and current age for who all is in the household.
Okay. This was in 2017. So at that time they were 12 and 8, I think it was, or 9. And she was confining them to the room and punishing them for no reason. And I said, why don't you just let them go to bed? They have, you know,
And at this point, she was about 7 months pregnant, if I'm doing the math right.
yeah.
Okay, so the child that we're gonna have the bulk of our discussions about today did not exist as a life and being at the time of that
Right.
police report.
Right.
So here's what I will say. The third prong of every protective order is that this order has a reasonable likelihood of preventing future violence. These orders issue understanding the background and the situation is important. Nobody is going to get or fail to get a protective order based on something that happened in 2017. I was, at the time that police report was written, I was 3 jobs back. And so at that time, I was actually still in courtrooms as on the other side of the bench, for that matter. I wasn't even a supervisor. And so I would like to focus the discussion and the questioning on things that have happened mostly over 2022 and 2023, and then to the extent necessary for understanding possibly something further back than that, but
Very tightly.
primarily over the last 12 to 15 months.
Okay.
I understand. I will draw the question. Moving along, Mr. Chandler, you previously filed a petition to legitimate your daughter and requesting custody of her as well, correct?
Yes.
And has your daughter been legitimated as your legal child?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask the clerk to pull up Exhibit 6. As they pull up this document, Mr. Chandler, I ask you to take a look at it and identify the document.
Good that he did the legitimization.
Mhm.
You hear that
Yeah,
all the
'cause,
time.
we hear that
That's
all the time,
temporary order of legitimation. Yes.
and they typically don't have that
And
done.
is this a true and accurate copy of the temporary?
Why she's talking about that? If he didn't have that, if I'm wrong, correct me. He would not be able to establish any kind of visitation with the child.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot of different. We've heard a few different judges say that and rule on that, and that
So-
was a huge part. Yeah, it's very interesting what has not made it in so far. I'm wondering if these two are trying to slide some things in.
I think we're going
play
to
a
see
little
some
dirty.
fireworks when she comes in swinging.
It'll be interesting to see what she has to say, because again, she said 0 through this whole thing. So.
Even that lady showed up and said she was crazy, basically,
Yeah.
allegedly.
This can be removed.
Can I say something also?
Sure.
And we were also living in the same home.
Okay. Understood. And you all have been living in the same home for how long?
7 years.
Until the incident that prompted this TPO, correct?
On the first, yes.
Now, you've asked the court to continue the temporary grant of sole legal and physical custody while the DFACS case is pending and while you're working to get a final hearing date for this custody matter we just spoke of, correct?
Yes.
And you were granted temporary custody of your daughter under the ex parte order, correct?
Yes.
And how long have you had her in your care?
Last Saturday, so like a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happened that you didn't initially have her in your care when the order was entered?
Because Hannah took her the day of the first.
Okay. And how were you able to get her in your care? What happened?
Well, followed the car and to a after the protective order, we followed the car to the park, and I called the police officer because that's what I was told to do. Call the police officer if I see her. So I followed the car to the park and called the police officer and got custody at that time.
Okay. So the officer assisted you with getting the child, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And also in the ex parte order, you were awarded your van, correct?
The car.
Okay. Car. And is the car in your name solely? Is it your vehicle that you own?
Yes.
And were you provided that vehicle?
No, because I just didn't want to my daughter to be stressed out, you know, because I know if I took the car, her mother would have probably been upset, and I didn't want my daughter to see that. So I let her drive the car home.
Okay, but are you asking to be able to retrieve the vehicle?
Yes.
Now, we've already spoken with the representative from DFACS. Do you have any idea who reached out to DFACS or requested that DFACS investigate
I did.
that?
Say it again. I didn't hear you.
What was your reasoning for that?
Because after noticing that my ex had all the children confined in that room, my daughter had developed this. She kept coming to me saying that she was hungry, and I'm thinking she's just not eating with me. And I come to Hannah, I'm like, oh, you know, is she eating with you? And she kind of dismissed everything.
Objection. I'm going to object to this line of questioning, as we're here on a protective order that's filed by Mr. Chandler. So
Almost
the
like we're getting
issues
into a
are
custody
really
hearing here.
not custody, because if that was the case, then we would be in legitimation case. We're dealing with the violence. To Mr.
Yeah,
Chandler.
he started bringing up a lot of
If I may
custody right there.
respond,
Yeah.
the issue of custody is a part of a TPO, which is why the court has the authority to award custody in this matter, award.
He already
visitation
has
places
temporary
for funds
custody,
proper,
full custody.
as well as child support. We're not delving too deep into it. I think there are a lot of matters that need to be addressed in a custody matter, but
You know, other
for
judges
the purpose of immediate
chop
relief,
that down real
as
quick.
well, that relates
Not
to
here for
custody, as well as my client's request for psychological evaluation and
They're asking for a lot, Creed, for sure. But you're completely right. All that custody stuff doesn't matter because he's already got temporary custody. And if he wins, he's going to continue to have it. So, I mean, again, it goes
Mhm.
back to like the pew-pew, like he said. If she, you know, has it against her, she can be allowed to have no pew-pews.
Did we not hear though that you can't rule on custody during these hearings, but yet 17 PA 23 P01774,
Which I think he's explaining to her right now.
Property possession and so on. But it's also I'll go ahead and hear it. I mean, I'd ask that we be brief about. We don't need to explore the reasons. What I'm most concerned about is if there is evidence relating to. I hesitate to use the term child welfare. Evidence of neglect or maltreatment is part of the hearing in chief, in addition to the terms that might be outlined in an order if one were to be granted. So,
Yeah.
so I'm willing to hear it with, you know, under that guise. So carry on, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Mr. Chandler, as you were saying, that you are the person that reached out to DFACS and you were explaining your reasoning why you had done so. Please be brief in your, but advise the court as to what it's called.
Okay. My daughter developed an eating disorder, and she wouldn't eat per the counselors. And also, when we got her to eat, then she developed a fear of pooping. So she was visibly trying to hold in her poop in order to, you know, I mean, I don't know the reason, but she was visibly trying to hold in her poop. And I noticed that it was like hurting her. And
yeah,
this was like an ongoing thing where every day, you know, we had to, you know, kind of coerce her into pooping. And when Hannah left with my daughter, she was still in the middle of this, and we were still trying to figure out what this was. And she wasn't really taking it as serious as I was. So I'm trying to, you know, my worry was that she was, you know, it was just harmful to her mentally. And then we took her to Dr. Sultan, and Dr. Sultan said that she's, you know, just acting out.
Hearsay.
All of it?
Yeah,
The part about the
So
doctor.
you
I'm
can't
guessing.
give testimony as to what people said if the
Oh, the
people aren't
doctor
here
said
to testify and be questioned.
But at the
So-
same time, wouldn't you want to ask if she was
That's-
You
that's-
can
diagnosed?
say
with
you
that
took her to a
disease?
doctor.
Okay.
You
Or
can't
she just
necessarily say what the doctor
speaking
told you or anything, but it would just
Okay.
be left there.
Okay.
That's
Well, she developed, she went from one extreme to the other, not wanting food in, but then she went to not wanting to push food out. And I was really concerned. So
It's not
when I
food.
called DFACS, I'm like, help, show me what to do. I don't know what to do. Somebody needs some counseling. And that's when Miss Lepard made her visit and noticed that, we needed some help, and then noticed how my ex was acting that day and confining the kids and things like that.
Okay, understood. So we can move on. You did mention that you took the child to see Dr. Sultan, correct? And
Yes.
Dr. Sultan provided a report. I know that she is one of the
Sultan.
witnesses, and you have to
Swing.
communicate about coming into the Zoom. If you could go ahead and communicate that with her, that would be great, while we wrap this up. Just briefly for the court's understanding, we also have what we listed as plaintiff's exhibit 9, 10, 11, and 12. And for the court's reference, and Your Honor, you can let me know if you feel like it's relevant, you want to address it or not. Plaintiff 9 is a video that my client took himself of the child speaking about the mother pulling her shirt and pulling her hair. Plaintiff 10 is a video that my client took
We gonna allow
of the
that?
child.
I know we're
What?
not if
And
we're
that the
going to
mom
show
is
a
just yelling
kid.
and fussing, won't stop, and that the dad is gaslighting the child, which I don't even know how a 5-year-old knows that. Plaintiff 11 is a collection of photos of the child's swollen lip, and plaintiff 12 is a recording that my client took of the child saying that her mom may have hit her lip. So that is
May have
P9,
hit her
P10, P11, P12. They are
Oh,
all.
toy bomb.
By the way, everybody's asking why are we allowing all this about the kid? Because the TPO is for the kid and for the dad. So
It is for both. Okay, because somebody, I think Jennifer, asked that.
both are looking for protection from this lady. Some of the strangest testimony we've ever heard here with the pooping and the eating.
Isn't on any of the videos. Is that correct?
No, she's not present on the videos.
Okay. With respect to number 11, which was the photo of the busted lip, I'll review. I'll look at number 11. I don't think there's an issue there. But for the other ones, I think those would be hearsay.
Okay. If we could pull up plaintiff's exhibit 11.
And while that's coming up, Mr. Chandler, when was the
No, we're not watching a kid's busted lip. I'm sorry
No.
if you're upset by that, but we'll thank Flusha.
It's all Flush's fault.
Not looking at a child's busted lip. I think we all know what that looks like. I'm pretty sure we don't have to glorify that anymore, give that any space. And as soon as the photo is taken off the screen, we will return.
The child's a 5-year-old.
Yes.
So I give them credit. They're at least talking in this one about rather than all these, we've watched so many where they're going rounds and rounds and rounds without actually talking about any of the important stuff that you need against that. And
It is a very small injury to the lip, but it's still I wouldn't know if I'd call it a busted lip or something look like it hit maybe the kid in the mouth. Because it's definitely a little, it's not graphic by any means.
I
But at the
think so.
same
Did
time-
you mute it or?
There's no video playing at this time. I don't think we can play. I can't just play the audio. It's basically just the judge asking about the photo.
Oh, yeah, you could. We can put up that, and then you can put it up.
Okay.
The photographs on three
There we
different occasions.
So these are you're saying these are all from different incidents?
Yes.
Oof. Okay, I got to take better notes then. All right, so we're going to start. Number one, you said was from August of 2021.
Let's see. The bump
So
inside the
one
lip.
set of photos.
No,
That
number
one,
one.
the outer lip. Yeah, August 2021, August 16, 2021.
And did you see what happened that you believe caused that injury?
Yes, my
Lisa?
ex Hannah slapped her in the mouth.
Mm.
Okay. And Madam Clerk, can you go to number two? This looks like the same injury.
the
Is
same
that
one.
correct?
That's the same one, yes.
Okay, so number three, please. Or 3 and 4 from the same incident.
No, this is a different one. That's on the inside of the mouth, right there, where her lip must have hit the tooth. You see that on the edge there? It's like a little
Okay.
injury right there. And that's when my daughter told me.
Objection, hearsay.
Yeah, you can't
Okay,
say what was
okay.
said. Did you see what caused the injury shown in photograph number 3?
No, I didn't see number 3.
Okay, and I asked my last question in an unclear manner. Is the photo on page 4 from the same incident as the photo on page 3?
Yes.
Yeah, we're missing one. The scratch on the chin, Miss Jabrina.
I didn't enter that.
Okay.
Okay, approximately when did you take these photos?
This was
Yes, Eric. We're not
inside the lip.
showing
That
a
was May 19th of 2022.
5-year-old with a busted lip.
Okay, did you ever
Yeah.
ask Ms. Hargraves about these injuries or marks?
Yeah, and she denied it.
Okay. All right.
But this way
And
we
have
can
you
hear the
edited these
audio.
photos in any way?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Okay.
All right. You can take Simpson down.
Understanding that the source of the injuries is in dispute, I'll admit them for whatever weight.
By the way, real quick, we will never show an injured child on this show ever.
no.
I'm sorry if it makes people mad or they tune out or leave. I will refuse to show any abused children here on
For sure.
the show.
You said that you have taken her to a pediatrician, which
Yes.
we'll address. And also, has she been able to attend school since she's been with you?
Yeah, she's been attending school ever since. We missed one day, which was the day after President's Day, and actually 2 days today for court.
Okay. All right. And based on the information and evidence that you provided to the court, at the time of the incident in February of 2023, were you afraid for your life or your safety as it related to Ms. Hargraves?
Yes. Yes.
Are you fearful now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she has a weapon, to my understanding, registered.
No worries, Eric. I just want everybody to know why we're staring at
And
each other.
you've asked the court to grant you a 12-month protective order, correct?
Yes.
In custody of your daughter, correct?
Yes.
The court has already addressed the firearm order. You've also requested the return of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And psychological assistance for Ms. Hargraves.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would like to ask the court for?
These attorney's fees,
And
because
how much in attorney's fees for today?
$2,500.
Ooh.
And was that a flat fee?
Yes.
That's all I have for Mr. Chandler, Your Honor.
Okay, well, they're getting Dr. Sultan. They're trying to retrieve her now.
Right, he gets to ask you questions before we get to any other witnesses.
Mr. Hargraves, Mr. Chandler, you mentioned you followed her to the park. Is that right?
Yes.
When did you do that?
That was on the day that I got my daughter. That was Saturday.
So after the ex parte was ordered, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You followed her to the park?
I saw her going to the park, yes.
How did you just happen to see her going to the park?
We're in the same neighborhood.
Okay, but you said you followed her to the park.
Yeah, but I saw her while I was driving, and I turned around and I followed her.
Okay, so
We're in the
just
same
so I'm
neighborhood.
clear, you filed an ex parte, you filed for a TPO because you're afraid for your life. And so being afraid for your life, you followed her to the park.
I'm also afraid.
Objection, asked and answered.
I'm also afraid for my daughter's life. You know what I'm saying? My daughter has a psychological issue now due to being confined. And there's a lot of that she's doing a lot of acting out and stuff like that, and she needs stability. So I'm very concerned about Hannah's ability to take care of her.
Well, isn't it true that the videos and things that you show her in your room cause some of that instability?
Videos and things that I show her in my room. What type of videos?
The horror movies.
Horror movies?
Graphic
I
videos
don't show her any horror movies.
All right. So I want to go back to those pictures that you showed.
Strange
right?
question, no?
One was from August of 2021. You didn't file a TPO at that time, did you?
No,
You didn't file any kind of motion at that time?
no, I didn't.
You did nothing.
Mm-mm.
And then later you said there was another incident. Again, you didn't file any kind of TPO, correct?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
You didn't file any kind of motion, you didn't file any kind of action,
No, I
correct?
didn't. Correct.
And then in October, you didn't file any motion, you didn't file a TPO, correct?
And
And only you filed one after she moved out. Is that right?
Mm.
she threw a
Uh-oh.
box cutter at me. She
Okay,
moved
but
out.
she had moved out of the house.
He asked her.
She had moved out of
him.
the house, correct?
Right.
And then you filed a TPO.
He asked him, "What about the
Yeah.
horror movies you've shown her?"
But
I
after,
didn't-
The thing is,
He's like, "Oh,
you have to have evidence in order to file on somebody. You know what I'm saying? You have to have evidence and things like that. So it's like I could at one point it's going to be my word against hers, you know. And if all I have is a child to rely on, I'm trying to get more evidence to show that this is a bad situation for me and my daughter.
so you're just staying in that situation, the situation that you're in fear of your life for, so you can get evidence. Is that right?
Great day. Have a
Yeah,
great
man.
day, Toy Mom."
You know,
Okay.
I'm doing the
Hang in
best I can to make sure that my daughter is okay. That's why I filed for legitimation, because the last time I tried to there was a DFACS case on us. They said that I wouldn't be able to get my daughter because I'm not legitimized, and the child would go to foster care. So if the child's going to go to foster care, I didn't want to take that chance. You know what I'm saying? And at the time that some of these incidents happened, I wasn't legitimized. So I tried to do the process to get legitimized, so my daughter wouldn't have to go to foster care if they were going to take my daughter away from her.
Right. But in October, you had a picture of yourself. Reportedly, she slapped you or something. You didn't file anything then, correct?
In October,
Yeah.
that I wasn't legitimized either.
Okay. So you weren't afraid at your time. You weren't afraid for your life or your fear and safety in October.
Anytime you're dealing with a person that is bipolar and that has a weapon and that's constantly threatening you, you are in fear. But you got to, as a man, I have to be more strategic than to just get up and leave. And then if I leave my daughter in the situation, or if she could say that I'm doing the same thing to her, and I would automatically look like the villain, as you know, just being a guy. So
He
it's like
backed off of it so
I don't
fast,
really
didn't
know how to, what to do and how to be a victim in this. I'm doing what I feel is best.
So we've acknowledged that you have a pending legitimation case, correct?
Yeah.
And when was mediation in that case?
Mediation was it might have been December, January, something like that.
Okay. So it was like January, middle of January, is that right?
Possibly, yeah.
I rocked up.
I don't remember the exact date.
And then Miss Hargraves moved out of your house, correct?
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning of the month, yeah,
February 1st.
February.
And at that point, did you file any motion inside your existing case?
What do you mean?
Did you file a motion for custody? Any sort of emergency motion out of your concern for your daughter? Did you file anything?
An emergency motion for custody?
Did you file anything in your legitimation case? Anything at
Yeah.
all?
Okay, the attorneys that I had before, they were preparing some paperwork and things like that. So yeah, they switched attorneys, and I went from that attorney to Jabrina's office. But I do have some motions that were going to be filed, but they made me switch attorneys, and I didn't like that. So I talked to Jabrina about representing me on this day. But there was some paperwork to be filed. Yes,
Okay, but nothing's been filed, correct?
nothing's been filed yet, as of yet.
Coming in
I
hard.
have no other questions, Judge, not of this witness.
Redirect.
Judge fell asleep.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
He's gonna come up.
Can we,
All right, if we were in court, Mr. Chandler, this is where I would say you could step down from the witness stand. At present, we'll just place you back on mute, and counsel, call your next witness.
Your Honor, it doesn't appear that Dr. Sultan has entered yet. I don't want to delay. It's my hope that she will enter. I asked the court for the leeway to allow us to just reserve for her should she come in. I know she's a doctor. She said she only had like 10 minutes, but she wasn't sure what time because we thought we were starting, we thought we were starting this morning. So.
Right. Counsel, Mr. Patel, I don't mind keeping things moving if that's something
Dr. Sultan
that
may
you
not
think we
make
can
it
work
today.
with.
I think that's fine. We can, if the petitioner rests, I call my witness and we'll just reserve for that one witness.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we need to do more things.
I'm not gonna lie, Creed. I was kind of looking forward to seeing Dr. Sultan and thinking it was a guy and he was gonna look like Iron Sheiky, baby.
Right.
I mean, but it's a Werman, Dr. Werman.
All right, ma'am, you've already been sworn in and you have a prompt to unmute. Counsel, you can begin whenever you're ready.
All right, Ms. Hargraves. Now, you used to live with Mr. Chandler,
Yes, sir.
and when did you move out?
February 1st of 2023.
Can you tell me why it is that you moved out on that date?
February 1st, so
Well,
27
fresh.
days.
earlier that morning around 12:50 a.m., the petitioner had cut off the power to the room that has a bathroom attached that I was using, and he also cut off the power to the room that I was sleeping in, which was my office. And as a result of him cutting off the power, I felt threatened because of his consistent manipulative tactics that he's been doing over a period of time of the course of our marriage of 6 years. So I knew that I had to pack my things and leave because I didn't know what else he was capable of doing.
Okay, so I want to just clarify something. You're saying marriage, just to be clear, you were never legally married, correct?
No, it was just religiously married.
All right, so there's no confusion there. So what happened that evening after he cut off the power?
Well, it was 12:50 in the morning. He cut off the power, and I was going to confront him, but I decided not to confront him because he's been, ever since the different cases that have come up with the custody case, he's been doing a lot of manipulative tactics as far as to break me emotionally and mentally over time. And I just decided I was not going to confront him because I was not going to go anywhere with him. It was just going to be back and forth. So I decided to just take back my power, save all my energy, and just leave with my dignity intact. And I decided to use my energy to just pack the remainder of things that I had inside the room, which was enough to get an Airbnb if I needed to. So I packed those things up in the middle of the night, and I waited until I got up to pray after that time. And I took everything out with the assistance of my 16-year-old son, and I moved the stuff out to go to a friend's.
All
Remember,
right,
she
so
has 3 kids,
after you
2 are
moved
not
out,
his.
What interaction did you have with Mr. Chandler?
Well, I didn't have any interaction about him cutting off the power because I knew that was going to go nowhere. So after I moved out my belongings on February 1st, it was between the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. By the time I finished moving my last belongings that I set in front of the garage outside of his home, I got back around about 9:50 that morning. And he was taking out some items to take to the trash. And I'd already set the trash bin out there. And I'd asked him if Asia was up, and he said yes, she was inside the room with my son Abdul. And after that, I went inside of the house, and he came in later. And I asked him, I said, well, the power went out early that morning. I said, do you know what happened? What caused that to happen? Just to see what he would say. And so he went and said, he went inside the bathroom and said, well, sometimes the power would go out. And he recently had the electrician come to fix the power in the bathroom in that room because it had been out for since September of 2022, but he recently got it fixed. So he said sometimes when you plug things into the switch, it'll go out, and sometimes it happens inside of the bedroom that he stayed in. Well, that has been true, but the power is never cut off inside the office room. That has never happened. So he went immediately when I said that, he immediately went downstairs inside his son's room.
Do you have
There's
any
a
proof
door
of that?
inside that room,
That he
and
did
there's a
that?
breaker box. And he went inside it, and you could hear him. He flipped the switch, and the power came back off on inside of the bathroom, in the bedroom, and inside the office room, just like that. And he said sometimes it happens, and then after that, we went about our business. After
All
that,
right.
there was
So
no.
later on that morning,
Okay.
after the powers come in, where's all your belongings?
My belongings were at a friend's house.
And was he aware that you had already moved all your belongings out?
No, he was not, because I did it while he was sleeping.
And why were you doing that?
I was doing it because at one point he told me if I ever tried to leave and take our daughter with him, he would not hesitate to use the weapon, the shotgun that is actual shotgun that he had me get for him, but he gave me the money for it because he had a record and he could not.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance. We're here for a TPO against Ms. Hargraves. There is no counter TPO that's been filed against my client.
We are going on a bit
So
long
I
about the
question the
breaker.
relevance of this line of
We should have went to this
testimony
right away.
about guns and who got guns and all of that.
Well, as far as the line of questioning, we'll wrap this up very quickly. I think it lays a very brief outline as to why she left and maybe some motive as to why Mr. Chandler is filing this TPO. As far as the guns, petitioner belabored this whole gun issue. Like,
I'm required to find that she's been the predominant aggressor in an act of family violence if I'm going to issue the TPO. So there is an extent to which I don't know where this testimony is heading, and so it's hard for me to speculate, but there is some extent to which her past interactions or fears that she had obtained might affect how she interacted with him during some of the incidents that we've heard testimony about. And so based mostly on counsel's representation that he'll be quick, I think we can move through what's left.
all right. So Ms. Hargraves, you heard the judge say, we're going to be very kind of quick on this. Why was it that you left? Why did you have to sneak out?
I had to sneak out because Mr. Chandler had been emotionally and mentally abusive to me all the time, and he was just doing so many tactics to try to break me, and I've had enough. And I got to the point to where I said to myself, I have to focus on my self-care, my self-love, and take back my power that he took from me, emotionally abusing me over all these years. And I had to do all of this just to fight for myself and my children.
So after you left, or the morning you were leaving, can you tell us what happened when you were physically,
she's really daughter, sticking her neck out on this screen,
and your son were leaving? What was going on at that time?
Okay, well, at that time, after I packed everything in, Ishmael had told me about what happened with the power and everything. I went inside the room where I normally go and homeschool our daughter, and my son Abdul also does his work inside of there. So we continue to do school as normal. And after a while, he went inside his room to start his work, usually at 10 a.m. And around 10:15, I ended up taking the remainder of belongings that I had, which was just a few items. I ended up taking those things, and I waited about 10:15, and I left out, and I went to my friend's house to continue doing the homeschooling.
Did you have any other interaction with Mr. Chandler?
No, I did not.
And since February 1st,
that was it.
What interactions have you had with him?
What about the box cutter? Ask her that.
Call where he talked to his daughter later on that day.
Now, who was present when you were leaving?
My 16-year-old son, Abdul Muhammad.
Anyone else was there?
No.
And where was Mr. Chandler during this time?
When I was leaving around 10:15, or when I was leaving
When
around
you guys
10:15,
were, when you were all leaving the house?
he was inside of his room, I presume working.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about, you said that you didn't want to confront him about the electricity. Why is that?
Because I've experienced so much manipulation inside the marriage that no matter
She's
what I say
laughing.
to him, he's going to turn my words and it's going to go round in circles and round in circles. And this is what he's been using as a tactic to mentally break my mind. But over time, I've been talking with my therapist, and I've joined online groups about emotional and verbal abuse, and I started learning and educating myself about that. And I started finding ways to avoid that by just not even disengaging from it and stop talking to him. And I learned to do that to cope so I would not be a victim constantly of his abuse. And it also helped me be able to control anger and things because I realized he was doing all that purposely.
You heard Mr. Chandler testify that he was trying to get evidence over these past couple of years almost. Can you point to some specific incidents in the last 3 months, say 4 months, that where Mr. Chandler was trying to get evidence?
Objection, Your Honor. Again, relevance to whether or not, as the court stated, she was the primary aggressor. The fact that there's nothing illegal about my client trying to make sure he has a solid case.
Yeah, that's,
Your Honor, it goes to,
If it goes to what's already been presented, I mean,
But she's not
Well,
on.
I'd like her to explain at least what
he can
she thinks
gather
he's asking
evidence
about before I
I think.
can really say.
all right, go on, Ms. Hargraves.
I'm not sure what you had wanted me to explain.
So in October, right, he says there were incidents where, or he needed evidence. Can you describe some of those situations?
As far as October, we had a legitimization on the 10th. There was no incident where he was trying to get evidence, and what he has said to nothing of that happened at all. There was nothing.
Well, what about instances where he may have provoked you?
Well, he was constantly trying to start arguments with me, and he would leave his phone sitting around to where he'd be recording purposely, and I would sometimes find and see it. And my son happened to find Abdul, happened to find him. He just happened to come in and started arguing with me, and my son saw it just sitting there casually, and he was just recording it. And when I found out that he was recording it, my son handed me the phone, and I stopped the recording because I said, this is not fair for you to be purposely starting arguments to sit there and use this as evidence. I said, this is not fair.
Now,
But I told him to stop. He was pretty much harassing me.
and how often would that happen?
This happened. It started more so before the legitimization case of October 7th, and then it became even more persistent as we got closer to the January 27th hearing case, and it just kept on going and kept on going to where he would not let up. And as a result, he started talking to my son to get my son to say things to use so that he could be a witness and use as evidence. And my son shared that with me.
You saw the picture that he purported that was from October where he had a swollen eye. Did you see that picture?
Yes, I saw that picture.
Can you tell us what you know about that?
I know nothing about that picture at all. Nothing. This is my first time seeing that picture. And I was there and living inside of his house. And nothing of that was brought to my attention or my son's attention at all.
And what about this box cutter incident?
Oh,
Can you tell us where that may have come from?
About time.
I don't have a box cutter, and I knew nothing about the box cutter incident. This is my first time hearing about the box cutter incident today in court. Never heard of that. So I'm kind of a little shocked to hear that.
She didn't look like it. She was like this.
Have Have you ever struck Mr. Chandler?
No, I have not struck Mr. Chandler, but my son walked in and saw Mr. Chandler standing over me as though he was getting ready. My son can testify to that.
Hold on, Ms. Hargraves, wait.
Your Honor. Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Johnson, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
I'm objecting to her testifying about anything that her son saw, that her son said, any of that.
Okay, well, she can't say anything that she said, but so far she said that the son walked in the room while Mr. Chandler was standing over her. And so she can testify as to his presence. She doesn't, and what happened next, but Ms. Hargraves, you can't get into any statements that your son made because they're not here to testify.
Yes,
Maybe.
All right, so go on. Well, so what happened after your son walked in?
he saw my son walk in, so he got down. He was standing on the bed. He got down and he walked away.
But before your son walked in, what was going on?
He was, we were arguing and he was going around in circles and he became aggressive as though he was going to hit.
All right.
Standing over her really is.
Do you know anything about these bruises, or there was a cut on your daughter's lip? What do you know about that?
Nothing.
No, that is something, no. Those may have been incidents, not as far as she may have, I don't know. As far as these pictures.
Roughhousing, playing with other children. I mean,
This is my first time
Cold
as far as
sore?
looking at these, so I don't know when
Cracked
they were
lips.
taken, and he never brought these to my attention at all.
Have you ever seen your daughter with a cut like that on her lip?
Yeah, I've seen her with a little cut on her lip like that before.
And when, do you remember when that was?
Not really. I think she had I think it may have been an instance where she was playing or something and she fell. I know at one point when she was 2 years old, she had picked up a object of and she had kind of clamped down on it. It was like some type of presser, and it gave her that little like the little bump that she has on the bottom of her lip, and it caused her to have some issues. And she had a little instance where she injured her chin by something that was in the kitchen, and she had grabbed it and it injured her the bottom of her chin. It's like a little scar.
Okay. Now I want to briefly discuss just very quickly about what's going on with your daughter as far as medically. Do you know what's happening?
My daughter really hadn't had any medical issues at all. It wasn't until January of 2023 she started having issues to where she complained about something in her throat. She had gotten sick at first, and I kind of took care of her, giving her natural medicine. Then she started complaining about her throat, a sensation in her throat. And I started getting worried because she didn't want to eat. And I started looking it up, and it said sometimes when children have anxiety issue, they go through stress or trauma, they can develop a sensation inside their throat. And I took her to a pediatrician I took her to a pediatrician to get it checked out in early January 2023. And then my daughter still wasn't really happy. She said, it's still bothering me. I still don't feel comfortable eating, so she wouldn't really swallow. So she insisted that I take her to the emergency room. She said, Mommy, I need to get checked out. I need to either see why it's hard for me to swallow. And I took her to the emergency room at Children's Health of Atlanta, and they said that she had a habit cough that she had developed, and the sensation that she had in her throat, they said that was due to anxiety and stress. And so they pretty much, that was all they said. It was a habit cough. They didn't give her any medicine or anything. They just said that just kind of help her with her breathing to manage her stress.
And what kind of what do you believe to be the anxiety and stress factors in the home?
Well, Mr. Chandler was keeping Asia away from me instead of letting her sleep inside the her room. He preferred to have Asia sleep inside the room with him. And Asia would want to watch her own shows, but he didn't really want her to watch her show. So he likes to watch a lot of scary shows. Fear the Walking Dead is one my daughter always mentioned. And she said, Mommy, she mentioned to the fact that she was watching a lot of those shows with
Okay,
him.
hold
And
on,
she-
Ms. Hargraves. You can't say anything.
Shout out to Fear
You
of the
can't say
Walking
anything
Dead.
your daughter said, okay?
Okay,
Well,
well,
what
she,
you know, what have you seen?
right, she would watch a lot of Fear the Walking and a lot of scary shows, and it was scaring my daughter. And it was causing her to develop a fear and anxiety.
So from February 1st up until she was removed from your care, how was her feeding and everything? How was that going?
My daughter was actually eating very well up until that moment. She had actually gained some weight because I took her to the doctor on February 10th, and Dr. Sultan actually saw it, and she was actually she spoke with Dr. Sultan saw her, and we made a comment about the fact that Asia had gained some weight, and she also spoke with a nurse, and they made note that Asia was actually doing better. She was eating. She didn't have the throat issues. She wasn't having any problem using the bathroom or anything at all. And they said I did a good job, and me making the decision
Good
to
job.
walk away was the best thing for her.
Your Honor, he say.
I have no other questions, Judge.
And
They're putting us through
yeah,
the ringer, Matt.
that's clearly someone else's statement. All right, Cross.
No questions.
Ms. Hargraves, you testified that your first time hearing about the box cutter incident was today, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But you were in fact served with this TPO because you had today and show up, correct?
I didn't. Some of your we were talking cut off.
I said you were actually served with the TPO because you had time to hire an attorney and you showed up today, correct?
No, ma'am. That's not
Okay.
correct.
So you didn't hire Attorney Patel to represent you today?
Yes, ma'am, but he's been representing me in other cases as well.
Oh,
Okay, so but you did hire him to represent you today and you showed up today, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so did you read the petition, the order?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I did read over it.
Okay, you testified that that you didn't throw a box cutter at Mr. Chandler. You have no idea where that came from.
That is correct, ma'am.
And you also testified that you have no recollection of him having a swollen eye or what he's talking about, right?
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay, so are you denying that you have pulled your daughter by her clothes and by her hair?
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay, are you denying that you jumped on Mr. Chandler's back?
That is correct, ma'am.
piggyback style.
The police have been called to you all's home over the course of the 7 years you've been together, correct?
It was more so the first house we lived in, I actually called the police on him because he was the aggressor.
Okay. Do you have a police report?
I don't have a police report as of right now, but I'm sure a police report could be obtained. It was January of 2017.
And but the last times since that time that the police have been called, they have been called because of you. He's called them because of you, correct?
No, there have not been any police come to the house since that time. At the 6899 Old Fox Road, there have not been any police come to the house at all.
But you do remember the police coming when you have children cleaning at 3 a.m., correct?
Can you say that one more time? You kind of faded out.
You do recall the police coming when you had the children cleaning at 3 a.m.?
No, because I called in February of 2017. So the cleaning is more so what he said. And that's what his words are. But I remember calling the cops February of 2017 because he was aggressive to me, not due to any cleaning.
So if there's
Ms.
a,
Hargraves, I need you to kind of focus on the question that she's asking. I understand that we're 2 hours into this hearing because the parties don't agree about the facts of what happened. And we understand that at the outset, but that answer was not responsive, I don't believe. She was asking you about other incidents where the police were called. And eventually what you got to was that was his version of things. And we acknowledge that, but try to focus on what's being asked, even if it's not something, even if you disagree with the content of it, the accuracy is kind of what's important in the moment.
I disagree with that, what she said.
so you disagree that the police were called to your home at 3 a.m. because you had your children cleaning?
Yes, ma'am, I disagree.
Okay. So if there's a police report that says that, then that police report is a lie.
Go on.
Is that your statement?
No, ma'am, that's not my statement.
Okay.
Let
Yeah.
me try this way, just to make sure that I'm not misunderstanding something. Ms. Hargraves, in January of 2017, did the police come to your house at 3 a.m?
I'm not sure as far as the exact time, but yes, they did come. I'm not sure as far as if it was 3 in the morning, but they
Let's
did
just say
come.
the middle of the night. That's the middle of the night to me. Some people would say early morning.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did they come because you called them or because he called them?
I called them, sir.
Oh,
All right.
what?
Ms. Johnson, carry on.
Your Honor,
That's not what was said.
No,
And she
One moment,
just
please.
contradicted herself about the cops coming in the first place.
she sure did.
She stepped all over herself right there.
Yeah, I think that she thought she could get away with answering it the way that she did, and it was
Ms.
such-
Hargraves, you
Yeah, no
testified
such luck on that one.
that Dr. Sultan said that the throat issue was due to anxiety and stress that your daughter was facing, correct?
Correct.
And you said this was February 12th, so this is about 2 weeks after you guys had left, right?
No, this was in January of 2023 when I took her to Dr. Sultan. The February 10th was when she saw a nurse
Okay.
at Sultan Pediatric.
Now you heard Ms. Leopard, and you said your testimony was that the anxiety and stress was due to my client's actions, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You heard Ms. Leopard from DFACS state that, in fact, you were the person that had both of the children confined in a room with you. Is that true?
That is not true.
Okay. At any point over the last 2 months before you left did you have both of the minor children sleeping in a room with you?
Yes.
And how often and how long?
My 16-year-old son, I think since September of 2023, when the power got cut off, Mr. Chandler never fixed it. So my son, due to the fact it was really cold, he had to come stay inside the room with me. And my
I'm sure
daughter,
he loved that.
this was her room already originally because it was her room / my office. And most of the time, my daughter would take time sleep inside a room with me, and then she would go sleep inside a room with her dad, but never confined. It was more so just to sleep. Everybody was free to go as they please.
I still don't believe the
Do you
electric.
deny
Nah.
the testimony from Ms. Leopard that says that you were keeping Mr. Chandler
Yeah,
and your daughter apart
with an Airbnb.
by keeping her in the room?
Yes.
She packed her things and went to an Airbnb. She said.
You also heard her testimony that you need some help for some mental health issues. Do you agree?
I disagree because she did not say that on the bed.
Okay.
She came.
She said it a few minutes ago.
currently residing?
I'm currently residing with a friend. Do I have to give that specific address, Judge?
Usually in other hearings and counsel, I'm happy to hear from you as to, I guess, the purpose for which you're seeking the information, but typically because we broadcast on YouTube and don't know who's watching, we try to avoid giving full and complete personal information, but we also allow parties to convey information through the chat. Is that something that would be acceptable?
That's acceptable, Your Honor, yes.
All right. Ms. Hargraves, are you on a phone or a computer?
I'm on a computer.
Okay, so you can use the chat function. And
Do I
then,
have to put the exact address or just the fact that I'm in Stone Mountain, Georgia?
Well, just told us all now.
We're requesting her address. I don't
yeah,
know.
so you would list your address where you were staying and provide that in the chat. It may or may not allow that to.
It's just us. It's just a bunch of friends.
I don't know what restrictions are placed on who can send chats to who in this setting. And so if it needs to be relayed through a member of the court team, we may have.
So while they're discussing that, Creed, do you believe, I mean, she's gone back on everything, but her lawyer hasn't helped her at all at this point with any objections or anything.
Yeah, I don't understand why we haven't pointed out any of the I mean, listen, we've seen a few things that she's gone back on, a lot that doesn't make sense. She almost give her enough rope to, I don't know. This is a weird one.
I like how she talked crap about him letting the daughter sleep in a room with him, but yet she was having all the kids sleep in a room with her.
Right.
Okay. And since you have been residing there, where have you and the children slept?
We've been sleeping towards the front room of her house. She has like an area to where we have I have my daughter's bed and my son has an inflatable bed.
Okay.
Oof.
And you slept on the floor, correct?
No, I didn't. I actually
Is that a dog next to the judge?
All right.
I saw a dog.
That's where the dog bark came
Just
from
one moment, Your Honor.
in the beginning.
He's got a puppy right there on the one side. He tried to slide over where we wouldn't see it. But
That's
I
great.
just saw
Are you
it.
employed?
Yes, I am.
And how much do you gross per month?
2,400.
Successful YouTuber, probably.
And did you pay your attorney for his services today?
Yes, I did.
How much did you pay for his appearance?
3,500.
Ooh, she got. Ooh, it's like 1,100 more than
Nothing else,
he paid for her.
Direct.
No redirect, Your Honor, but I will call my next witness.
Who?
All right.
Really?
Abdul Muhammad.
Who?
You're not gonna redirect
Abdul
any of this?
He's gonna go
Muhammad?
get him.
Oh no.
Huh.
Abdul Muhammad's here, everybody. Is this her
This the-
son?
The sun must be.
All right. Would you please raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm that any statements you make to the court today will be the truth under penalty
Your
of
eyes
perjury?
okay, kid?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Give me just one moment. You can put your hand down.
You look scared to death.
In fact, I'm sorry, I should have done this before we brought you in. We're just going to take about a 3-minute break for me to fix a glass of water, and then we'll pick right back up.
It's gonna
Okay,
fix the
thank
glass-
you.
How do you fix a glass of water?
Yeah, it's broken.
Actually, his dog's got to go dump. Is what's actually happening. His dog had to go out.
Oh, look, he waved at him like, "Hey, man."
Oh,
All right, so a lot to go over here.
ooh, yeah.
A lot. Everybody just going black right now, but we'll be back in a couple minutes. Also, give everybody a chance to take a bathroom break if they need to right now. Is anybody? I mean, she's got such. Yeah, they do. They are great wrestling names. I mean, is there any way she could dig herself out of the hole that started with the Miss Leopard's testimony, saying basically coming out allegedly thinking the lady needs some mental help? I mean, that's how we started.
Yeah, but don't forget we had to prod at the lady that started all that. Once he got to that point, then kind of let her go. She said a lot of things that she has certainly contradicted herself on, and I'm very surprised that we did not redirect and kind of go over any of those.
Did you think it affected the judge at all when she said the part about how she had just wrote whatever he asked on the paper, which made it sound like, she was being manipulated? Did that counteract her claims of the lady needed some real help? Or
did she contradict herself so much and lie so much that didn't feel like you had to say anything, and it feels as if the judge gets it already?
Maybe. Does that lady get fired for being here today?
She might. She was very worried, but at the same time, I would imagine there's some sort of things that you have to go through if you're being summoned to court.
Wouldn't you have to tell your employer, like, hey, I'm being summoned to court about this case right here. I'm just making you aware what's going on. Because she said typically they have their own lawyers that would show up and basically be like, yeah, that's what's going on. This is what's happening. Man,
I didn't expect this case to be.
I had no clue what we were getting ourselves into.
Hello, D.
We've got we've got an hour. We can stay with this another hour. There should be, I don't know if Dr. Sultan's going to show up or what. But of course, this kid's going to testify for his mom.
Yeah.
I feel like he's kind of a manipulated person.
Just FYI, if I duck out in about 15 minutes, I've got about 6 packages that need to go out. If I would have thought that we were going to have a long one today, I would have got that done ahead of time. But I've got a window where that 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock is all I've got, because once we get into the chase, they're closed.
By the way, Judge Dude at the onset of today said this was his busiest schedule he has ever had.
We watched one last week where he said he was very, very busy, had a lot to do, and he was way more vocal than he was today, and kept things a little bit more to the point about why we're here and the reasoning, and let's get to this part. So kind of interesting to see him be rather quiet through this. Actually,
he's kind of let him go, which I'm surprised.
Yeah, there's been some weird allocations there. I feel as if she didn't have a whole lot to go on, so she's playing that electricity card is the reason why they were all in that room together, which doesn't really make too much sense to me. Did we ask anything about? I might have missed it. Did we ask anything about the food and if she provides proper food to the child?
She said the kid was eating tons, putting on weight and all this other stuff. I'm surprised we didn't say hearsay on her saying that the person at the hospital told her she was doing a great job, and that the lump in the throat come from anxiety. I would never have thought, a kid having a sore throat or itchy throat. I'd say allergies or maybe even a strep. But
even when she was trying to talk, of course the pictures that we had covered up, she didn't have a good excuse for that at all. I can think of a million ways that a kid can get a little bruise on their lip or something happen. So that kind of threw me off a bit too with her.
Especially a little girl like that, little girl busts her lip. You're going to kind of remember that.
Okay, good point. She read a lot of that, and as soon as questions she didn't have right there, she was very and lots of long.
You could tell pauses. She was looking down when she was kind of putting together her statements. It was definitely all written down.
Oh, no kidding. Matt, thank you. And by the way, we owe a mega hallelujah to Amy. You might as well
knock that out while
hit
we're
that out,
here.
too. Thank you guys so much, all of you.
Definitely helping us out tremendously. Not that it costs a lot to put this show on, but it costs a lot to have these two beautiful faces in front of you each and every day. So to that. Times two, Creed. Times two on very generous. We appreciate. Hopefully, Amy's still here and got to enjoy that. I know that was the whole reason she wanted to see that graphic.
You guys will see us try to shake it up a little bit and try to not talk over everything. Not less sound effects, less to try
just to see what how that works out. And we're not going to filter ourselves. We're going to give you our honest opinions, right or wrong. We're going to give them to you. 3 minutes, he said, Creed.
That's been a very long 3 minutes, by the way. I think when they come back, I'm going to jump out for just a little bit. I'll be back for the end. I got to get these wrapped up and run them to the post office. But if I can do that within, while doing that, I will. Don't forget, what is it? It's Tuesday already?
Taco Tuesday. And Creed, I know it's not Wild Woman Wednesday, but we're going to see a lady that is being accused of stealing tacos, Creed. Is she going to be arrested? Did she really steal these tacos from the QT? All that and more. We got a chase today. Taco Tuesday.
He had to take care of his dog. That's funny.
Maybe he had to drop a quick deuce, him or the dog, either one. Maybe. Just maybe. We'll find out. I mean, in my opinion, just my opinion, the lady's kind of...
Don't mess with me. I'm one crazy mofo.
Yeah, I hate saying that lawyers are bad because they do a much better job than I could ever do. But there are some occurrences like this one where, I'm pretty astonished that we didn't go back to the spots where she was obviously, I guess you could call that almost perjuring herself. No, I mean,
saying that all the things she kind of put together. Yeah, Judge Dude back at it.
Everything come out all right?
Ishmael. He had to go fix his hair too. You see how lovely it is now. That's him got it muted, not us. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I do.
Yeah, no, I sent you a lot of emails, Judge Edgerton. I apologize. I've been working in the background.
Reno.
And Your Honor, before the court moves forward, the witness, Dr. Sultan has been in the waiting room, and she indicated to my client she has a limited amount of time.
Look, Creed, they're in a studio. Look at the walls and the mic and stuff over here.
Sorry
I'd
about
like
that.
to. I'm seeing everybody pull back in. All right, Mr. Patel, were you able to hear that?
I was. That's fine.
Okay. All right. So, sir, I apologize for the false start. We have a witness that we have been waiting on for their availability for quite some time. And the very short window in which we have them is basically now. And so, if Ms. Hargraves can come back on camera, I just want to make sure she's hearing and following along as well. Okay, she was right there.
I'll be listening and I'll BRB.
All right, Ms. Hargraves, can you give me a nod just to confirm you were able to hear us as we were saying that? Okay. So we can take that witness since we have a limited window in which to hear from them, and we can and then we'll resume with the respondent's case thereafter.
I believe she'll need to be let from the.
And then the doctor. Should be interesting to see what this doctor has to say. Professional testimony, perhaps? It could have been a stuffed dog, maybe. Where's the doctor? Doctor?
And I'm looking at the waiting room. What was the name?
Her name is Dr. Jacqueline Sultan. SULTON.
Anywhere?
I don't see anyone in the waiting room. I've been looking, but
Hello, you. Where's the doctor?
Mr. Chandler, were you in contact with her?
Yeah, he's going to get her again because she's seeing a patient now.
Oh, okay.
He's going to get her now.
Oh, my
Okay.
goodness.
She's seeing patients in between, and she's trying to squeeze us in.
Understood. All right. Well,
But
in that case, we'll.
Can we wait a couple of minutes, just a couple of minutes, because
Yep.
if we lose her now, it may be.
We can do a 180 after our 180 and be facing the original direction we were facing. So, all right. Mr. Patel, I'm sorry, I know I had your witness sworn in and in the chair. If we can bring them back.
They say that dry shampoo is not good for your hair.
Can I type in the chat when she's ready?
Yes.
Well, Mr. Patel, how long do you expect this witness to be here?
15 minutes.
Oh my God.
All right. We'll try to at least whatever portion of the testimony is ongoing, be it direct, cross, or whatever, we'll do our best to conclude that just to have some finality there, and then we'll switch over as soon as we have them. So, sir, can you tell us your name?
Yes, Your Honor. Abdul Muhammad.
All right.
Name is
So
new.
Mr. Patel has some questions to ask you, and then Ms. Johnson may have some questions for you too. So counsel, you can go ahead.
All right.
Before he begins testifying, I asked that counsel be obligated to show that the witness is competent.
I will do that. Abdul, can you tell me how old are you?
16 years old.
All right. And when do you turn 17?
I'm turning 17 on March 9th.
All right. Do you understand what's going on here?
Yes, sir.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you in any way to testify here?
No, sir.
And are you in any way mentally incapacitated, or do you have any sort of inability to understand my questions and answer truthfully and honesty?
No, sir.
And do you understand what it means to respond to my questions truthfully and honestly under oath?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I believe he's qualified to now testify.
I think counsel.
I just have a couple of questions for him. Mr. Abdul, you say you understand what is going on. What do you understand is going on today?
There's a PTO, I think, my bad, a PTO case between my mom and Mr. Chandler.
Okay. And you weren't forced to be here, right? Okay. Have you been listening to what's been going on as everybody's been testifying?
Yes, ma'am.
Get on
Okay.
that.
There seems to be a delay in your response. Is anyone telling you what to say?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Okay. And you acknowledge that you understand that you're supposed to tell the truth, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand that if you don't tell the
I agree.
truth, that you could be punished for not being honest? The court could punish you if it's discovered that you're not being honest.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, then if he's sworn improperly, I have no other objection.
All right, you can continue on, Mr. Patel.
All right, Abdul, it's okay if I call you that?
Yes, sir.
So I know you're nervous. If you need me to restate a question, just let me know, okay? But we're gonna be pretty quick here. Now, tell me, how do you know Mr. Chandler?
Have you ever met the man?
I was,
What a terrible witness.
from being around him when we were staying at his house.
Okay, and do you remember what house that was that you were staying at?
6899 Old Fox Trail.
Okay, and do you remember when you moved from there?
February 1st, 2023.
Were you there when you moved? Well, obviously we're there, but were you
These are all
there
my
when
books.
everything was getting packed up and moved out?
Good
Yes,
to
sir.
see you.
Can you tell us what happened on February 1st, 2023? As far as when you woke up and moved out?
Well, when I woke up, we started packing. So we started packing up stuff, and I was helping my mom pack up stuff
Oh,
that she took to her friend's house, so we could, and then we moved to her friend's house.
he is trailing
Okay,
off
and
so bad.
as you were leaving the house, can you tell us what happened?
It's tough to watch.
We left while he was working.
Okay, so Mr. Chandler in his petition stated that your mom threw a box cutter. Well, let me back up there. Were you at the house the entire time as you were all leaving? Were you in the hallway as your mom and Asia walked out?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
That's not leading.
I don't think it naturally suggests either answer. Yeah, I'll overrule.
So I'll rephrase my question. Were you present when Asia and your mom were all leaving the house?
Yes, sir.
And as you were leaving the house,
Terrible
did
witness.
the three of you or anyone there have any interaction with Mr. Chandler?
No interaction besides when he was telling her about the light. Yeah, press the button to turn the light back on. There's plugging too much stuff into the circuit. Plugging too much stuff
Saying
in.
yes, sir.
Cause the light.
Yeah, a lot, and he talking. He goes back like this and talking, and then he comes back a little bit like
I think
this.
she's right there coaching him.
Absolutely, 100%.
Either Mr. Chandler or your mom, Ms. Hargraves, were fighting or arguing or yelling or anything back and forth with each other?
No, sir.
Do you remember? Well, I'll just be very blunt. Mr. Chandler says that as you were leaving, that your mom threw a box cutter at him and it cut him. Can you? What do you know about that?
I don't know about that.
Oh,
Did you ever see any sort of violent incident like that on February 1st?
No, sir.
Let me ask you, have you ever seen your mom become violent against Mr. Chandler?
No, sir.
Have you ever seen your mom jump on Mr. Chandler's back and fight him?
No, sir.
just because he didn't see it don't mean it didn't
Are
happen.
you in any way confined? Do you know what the word confined means?
No, I don't know, sir.
Confined means kept in a small place or a place at all. Are you or Asia ever kept in a special place, like a room, or prohibited from leaving
Amanda?
that room or stopped from leaving?
No, sir.
Do you recall an incident when
Thank you, Courtney.
your mom left you and Asia in a car?
No, sir.
No, this one isn't.
What do you know about Mr. Chandler having
Is he on?
conversations with Asia?
Objection, Your Honor.
I haven't even asked about what she said or anything like
Thank
that.
you.
There's no objectionable question yet.
Go ahead.
All right. What do you know about Mr. Chandler speaking to Asia?
I don't know about Mr. Chandler speaking to us.
Okay. Has Mr. Chandler ever spoken to you about this case or about custody or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. Has he ever spoken to you about things that your mom may have said or done?
Look at him
sir.
looking around.
Okay. And what does he say to you?
Dramatic pause, or just don't know what to say?
More so, like our conversations, I guess,
I'm sorry. Can you speak closer to the mic?
Yes, sir. Sometimes arguments between them.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
Sometimes arguments between them.
Okay. And has he ever told you how to act or try to influence you in any way?
What's he reading? Look
You
at him
understand my
reading
question?
something.
No, sir.
Has he ever told you or try to influence you in any kind of way?
Hey, look out!
No, sir.
Okay. Now I'm gonna ask you just a couple more questions. I'll be quick. Do you know? Well, okay, you live at home. Do you ever leave the home for?
By the way, we know there's a computer right in front of him, by the way, because she just used it a second ago.
Sometimes to the park or sometimes to the park or to the store. Just sometimes on bike.
Okay. And if you're ever gone, are you ever gone for any significant, like more than 6 hours?
Gone more than 6 hours.
This is embarrassing.
No, sir.
Okay. And do you where do you attend school?
I attend school at Georgia Connections Academy.
And is that a physical location that you go to, or where is that?
Online school.
So are you home all the time?
Well, that explains why he's acting the way he acts. He's homeschooled all the time, not around other kids.
Not all the time.
Okay, but do you ever spend the night anywhere else?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay. Now, do you remember the police being called to your house for anything in the last 2 years?
No, sir.
Okay, what?
So all of
police were
this
just
year, all of
there.
last year, the police never came to your house?
No, sir.
Do you remember if in 2021, if the police ever came to your house?
He said no. He
no,
said
sir.
no.
Maybe I didn't ask the question. Is it you don't remember, or they did not come?
They yeah.
Pull the plug on this, man. Just pull the plug. This is. He's reading.
I don't.
Either he has some sort of.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I have no other
issues.
questions, Judge.
Either he has issues that we should have never let him testify because
Abdul,
of.
just a couple of questions. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay, take a deep breath. It's okay. All right. Just a couple of quick questions. So when you were asked how you knew Mr. Chandler, you said you know him from being around him and staying at his house, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But you guys have lived with him for about 7 years since you were about 9 years old, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you
Barely
say that
know
you and Mr. Chandler have a close relationship? I guess before you all left.
I kind of.
Okay. Okay. Now you were asked about the day you guys moved out of the house. Do you remember what your mom's mood was like that morning?
They said he's not.
You said my mom moved.
Yes, the day you all moved out, February 1st. What was your mom's mood like that morning?
Say it. Say it. Call her the B word. It's okay.
How was her mood?
Gosh, I would say cautious. Well, or
What?
I'm sorry, son, I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
I would say calm or cautious.
You say you lost track?
Oh no, ma'am. I would say calm.
Okay. And what about Mr. Chandler? What was his mood like that morning?
Hold on, she's typing. Give her a second.
Calm. I think calm.
Calm.
Okay, you said it was calm.
Maybe. I don't know.
So
Why
you
did
were
we
helping your
establish
mom with putting stuff in the car and moving stuff in and out of the house that morning?
Yes, ma'am. I was helping her with stuff.
Okay. And at any point, were you maybe outside for any extended period of time with your sister or packing the car up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were you ever outside and your mom was inside? Or were you attached to her the entire morning?
Yes, ma'am. Attached.
Okay. So from the time she woke you up
Something's not
until
right.
you all drove away from the house, you never left her side? Okay. And what about your little sister? Was she with you all attached at the hip that morning too?
He don't know what attached to the hip means.
She was with me.
She was with you? I'm sorry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So it's your testimony today, and I just want to make sure I'm clear, Abdul, that the morning of February 1st, from the time you woke up until you all left the house, your mother was never out of your sight. She was in your sight the entire time.
That's what I think too, Jennifer. I don't think he's special needs. He's a kid that's never been around other children, obviously. Read this message. He's reading. I mean, you can tell he's reading.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is your mother in the room right now with you?
Is she in the room?
That's what-
Yes,
Mm.
she is. Okay. The friend that you guys are living with, how long have you known this person?
How long am hmm. Oh, I think a week or two.
I can't hear you.
I think I'm not really sure how long
Okay. And last question, Abdul. How long did you, your mom, and your sister stay in one room of the house before you guys moved out?
I think during I think I guess from September to like the day we moved out.
Okay. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Abdul. You have a good day, unless the court has anything. Okay.
Nothing further for me for this witness. I know that we have continued to play the scheduling game here. Do we actually have access to Dr. Sultan at this time? What was their first name?
Jacqueline Sultan.
It may say Joey Sultan.
I have
I
somebody
wonder
whose name
if-
appears to be an abbreviated version of Jonathan the Great.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I think that may be it.
Jonathan the Great, bring him in.
We're going to try
The
that. and
amazing
we're gonna see if
Jonathan,
anybody
everybody.
recognizes them.
Oh my God. Whew. That was brutal, guys. I don't know about y'all, but I felt every second of that. Every second. Can we bring in Jonathan the Great so we can wrap this thing up? I've got about 20 more minutes before we got to get ready for We Got a Chase Taco Tuesday. Jonathan the Great, anytime. Anytime. Jonathan. There's no way any of us don't believe that. I mean, if you think he wasn't being coached, please speak up. But I felt 100% and felt very bad for that young man that he was just put through that. When his testimony did nothing for the case. Nothing. Absolutely, positively zero effect on this case.
Oh, okay, so they connected to audio. I need you to start your camera, please.
What would Judge Manning do? Judge Manning would be, is this your mother telling you what to say?
Is this the correct witness, sir?
1 second.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
Does anybody know who that is?
Yes, that's the correct witness.
Hey, all right.
Yes. They're going to get the doctor now.
Bring in the amazing Jonathan. I mean, the great Jonathan. Yeah, that kid has led a sheltered life. Sultan, everybody, on the move.
Hello, this is Dr. Sultan. Sorry to have you wait.
No apology needed. We are grateful for any time you can spare for us today. My name is Judge Edgerton. We were trying to eyeball a spot where we were between witnesses that we could track you down and bring you in. And if you had a few minutes to give us, then I would ask if you would please raise your right hand for me. Do you swear any statements you make to the court today will be the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. You can put your hand down, and could you state your name for the record, doctor?
Jacqueline Sultan.
All right, thank you. Counsel, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Dr. Sultan. My name is Jabrina Johnson. I represent Mr. Ishmael Chandler. How are you?
Yes, hello.
Okay. I understand that you're the primary physician of your own pediatric practice. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And what's the name of your practice?
Sultan Pediatric Group.
And how long have you been employed in that capacity?
She owns it.
A long time. Since 1988, actually. So it's been a long time.
I have no objection to this witness testifying as an expert in pediatrics, if that's the purpose of this line.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Sultan, I'd like to allow the clerk to pull up what we've marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 8 and ask you if you recognize it. It should be on the screen very shortly.
Oh, shit. Well, we got to show. If it's a kid, picture of a kid, we're not looking at it. We'll listen, but we won't look. Okay. All right. That's good. All right. We're doing good, guys. We're doing well.
And if you could scroll, please.
If everybody would massage the back and feet of the person to your right, we'll all get through this a lot better. I promise.
Dr.
Yeah,
Sultan,
they're all
can you
kind
see
of
this
annoying.
document?
Yes, I'm enlarging it. Yes, I'm looking at the encounter date. And that should be her last visit with us, I do believe. 2/24. Yes, I do recognize that document.
Okay. And is that a true and I see your signature attached on page 2. Is that a true and accurate copy of your notes from your last visit with Asaya Chandler?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're not moved to admit Plaintiff's Exhibit 8?
Either.
No
or.
objection.
Okay.
So omitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. If we could move back to page 2, please. And Dr. Sultan, pursuant to your notes, you had well, let me go back. How long have you been treating Asaya Chandler?
We have 2 different computer systems, so I'm looking at the new system, but she's been with us basically since birth. But I'm looking at a new system, so sorry, I'm in between 2 computers.
No problem at all. So you are very familiar with her and familiar with the family, correct?
Very much so, yes.
Okay. So based on these last notes, could you provide the court with a summary of your, and I note that this is dated February 24th, so about 4 days ago. Can you provide the court with a summary of your assessment of the child at that last visit?
Yeah, Asia in every visit is always very very quiet and engaged, and she's always smiling, and she's the type of child that is somewhat can be difficult to assess her mood at times, and there's some children that I can kind of tell what may be going on with them. And with Asia, it really takes a lot to kind of sometimes pull what may be going on internally with her, and the dynamics in the home actually really kind of came out more with history. And so it took us kind of engaging with history with some of the physiology that was going on, i.e. her inability to defecate, and some of the behavioral history with that. There was another visit where she presented with some ticking, and she was doing a lot of eye blinking. That was a little unusual. And
we saw the boy has a tick with his eyes.
And so
remember?
Those types of things sort of came together as we sort of just pulled together bits of information. She is homeschooled, so it's difficult to get information from, teachers and other, adults that may interact with her, for other opinions. Asia, I think, very much, I think is the type of child that, wants to please. So she is always, very cooperative, and so her demeanor is always the same, in the office. And she's always smiling. And so it takes a lot to kind of, pull together in history what may or may not be going on, with her, if that makes sense. So we have to get information in other ways, with her.
Now, are you aware that DFACS has recommended some type of mental and behavioral health services for the child?
Yeah, and I agree that that should happen. So I have a actual behavioral nurse therapist that was in the room with me. So she's a practitioner who has a specialty in behavioral health. So we were in the room together and we did some assessments, and we're both in agreement that she does need some therapy. So I agree with DFACS on that as well.
Okay, so per your assessment and plan, it looks like you diagnosed her with some generalized anxiety disorder, difficulty sleeping, family problems, and then you talked about the stool issue and the psychotherapy. Do you have any insight from your communication with the child as to what the source of this anxiety, difficulty sleeping, or family problems may be?
So Asia is at her age. Some of those things we do with certain types of assessments. And so some of those assessments are done through checklists. And that's what looking through her documents here. One of those are called the SCARED. It's called a child anxiety assessment, and where the child they have to answer some questions, but it's difficult for them. It's done in a certain kind of way, and they're young, so they can't really do that. And the parent answers questions too, and is scored. So so those are done as a checklist. We can't really get a lot of that information from a 5-year-old
practitioner.
So they're done kind of indirectly. So we don't really get information like as a verbatim question from a 5-year-old, not in a 45-minute session. What we do is recommend the therapist that gets involved, and the psychologist can gain information that way. But checklists are usually what we use to do that. And they're questions that are answered like, does your child do this, or does the child not do this? And it's not something that's a yes or no that a child can answer, because their mind is too immature to kind of do that type of thing. So it's usually scored by question and answer from an adult and indirectly with the child.
Okay. And so traditionally, who has brought Asia for her pediatric appointments?
So I'm looking at in our old documents, I've seen mom has brought her, and we do have a way to record in some of our old system who has brought the child. And traditionally, she has brought her in the past for the majority of the visits from what I can see.
Okay. And do you have any insight as to why the anxiety or the behavior not addressed prior to Mr. Chandler bringing the child?
You just broke up. I didn't hear that whole question.
I'm sorry. I said, any insight as to why the behavioral issues and anxiety issues were not addressed prior to Mr. Chandler bringing her a few days ago?
She had no indication prior to, let's see, she came on 4/28/22, and then she had not been seen for almost about a year. So things can change quickly over that amount of time. So there may not have been anything to indicate anything over that time frame. And Asia, with her personality, because it stays very even, there could have been some things that we may not have picked up. So kids are very resilient, and depending on what may or may not have been going on in the home, there could have been something that we would not have picked up. But over a year,
Nap time for the judge.
that would not have necessarily been uncommon. She's a hard child to kind of read in that respect, as far as emotionally, because she's always very even keel either way. So that may not have been something that we would have necessarily picked up or not over, a 10-month time frame or longer. So
I just have two very short questions left for you, Doctor.
Please.
Do you have any insight as to whether either of her parents, mom or dad, affect her behavior positively or negatively?
I know that when the interaction that I've had with her mom has always been positive. And with the dad as well. So I think both parents, probably want what's best for their child. The question is, what's best for Asia? What's the most stable environment? And that's what what our concern was, at the last visit. Where is she going to get the most structure to work through, some of her obvious anxiety concerning her, her stooling, her sleep. She's really isolated most of the day because she's not around any other children. And at this point, she's got siblings. They're older. She's the youngest in the home. COVID has caused, it was an isolated situation, even with COVID, that's gone on for a couple of years. So Asia really doesn't have a lot of interaction, socially or what have you. I'm not sure about other family members, So our concern at this point is, what is the structure here, which is very important, what's going to go on from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
What Knox used to do on the
What's
show.
the stability here? We have, a cognitive behavioral therapy, plan in place, to get her, her stooling in order, her diet. She lost 2 pounds, since the last visit prior to this visit. How do we get her eating properly? What stability is going to be put in place here for her? That's the goal. I think I'm sure both parents love her and want the best. And every time I see her with either parent, I feel like she looks at them with, those dear doe eyes, as if she engages with both of them. When they talk, she looks at both of them as if she just, it's hard to really describe the way she really engages with both of them, very much so, and is very, I can tell, very attached to both parents. So, this is a difficult thing here, I imagine, but the idea is, what home or what environment is most stable for her moving forward? And, where was she, where can we get some of these, things in place to, provide the most, stability for her?
Okay, and I understand exactly what you're saying. Have you perceived any reason to believe that her father is incapable or unable of providing her with that stability by keeping her in the home that she's lived in the home that she knows? Is there anything to indicate that he's unable to do that right on at the present moment, I guess?
Yeah. I don't feel that he's unable to do that, provided that, this is the home. She's familiar with her room, her familiar surroundings. Moving her out of a familiar surroundings, I don't think would be wise to do at this point, providing she's, having some concerns that we're concerned about right now.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Oh,
All right, thank you, doctor. My name is Nishit Patel.
No.
I represent Miss Hannah Hargraves in this matter. Thank you so much for coming. I had a couple questions. How many times did you see Asia this year?
She came in 2023.
Yes.
Yeah.
My tablet's just going out. She came twice this year, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Twice.
No, 3 times. 3 times this year. Twice with mom and once with dad.
So the time that she came in, the first time she came this year, I'm assuming that was with mom?
Twice with mom this year.
So the first time she came was on what date?
And you're gonna ask me that. I have to power the tablet up again. Ask me another question and I'm gonna go in here again with her birthday.
Sure.
So, mhm.
Do you remember what was the reason for her visit that first time?
Yeah, I do. The first visit she came because she was concerned about some throat clearing. She thought that she needed to see the ENT, and she was having some issues with. Let me go to the desktop. I'm gonna go here.
EMT for
She was having some issues with her throat,
clearing?
which she really wasn't. And then she was having some eye blinking at that time too, which I was concerned about. Some nervous ticking,
I can finish.
which I told her that's what that was, and we talked about that. And that actually kind of resolved. She called a couple of times about that. I kind of discouraged her about the throat. Somehow we talked through the throat. And she was doing some throat clearing. She thought she had a sore throat, and that kind of went on for a minute. Allergy symptoms or something like that. And then I was more concerned about her blinking because it seemed to be sort of a nervous blinking that she was engaged in. And so I convinced her, and then the mom at the time made me aware of some discord that was going on in the home or what have you. And
join our Discord.
And the conversation kind of sort of went to that into that detail. And so I thought maybe that was affecting Asia's throat clearing and blinking. And so I convinced her to come back and we could kind of dive into that and kind of do some, behavior scales. And I wanted her to see our behavioral therapist that comes and look into maybe some anxiety and whatnot. And she agreed to that. She very much wanted to look into that. And so that was the next visit.
Okay.
And so I have those visit dates now here. So the first visit was on 1/12, and then she came back and she saw the behavioral therapist for that visit.
Get very comfy.
And that was a pretty long visit.
And that's
when she went into, sort of evaluated the anxiety pertaining to the eye blinking and the throat clearing and things like that. And that was on 2/10.
And who brought her for those first 2 visits?
Mom brought her. Those are the visits that you were asking me about. Did mom come? Yeah.
So when dad brought her most recently, were those new concerns or were those just continuations of what was already going on?
So the concerns when dad brought her were pertaining to her.
Kid was like,
How did that just happen?
I don't know because it's gone down below. What in the world?
Still there on mine. Hold on, everybody, just sit tight.
The StreamYard said, "Okay, I've had enough."
Let me reshare it. I guess I don't know. It's still there.
Yeah, I guess so. It just stopped completely.
Yes, my StreamYard quit. It literally quit. Let's try this again. Don't worry, we're coming right back. You won't miss any of that riveting testimony, I promise.
Oh my God, what do we get ourselves into?
We really effed up on this one, man. I'm telling you. That was really weird. I was looking over here and all of a sudden, boom, I was like, damn, Creed done threw him off.
Do you have a cat that walks across your keyboard? Because that's happened to me before.
It like StreamYard was still on, but it was dead. Dead. Did I tell you?
See here.
See?
She
Just like
did
you weren't
mention
away.
that she was still, she talked about poor appetite, constipation, new stress. Her parents are separated. Mom stated patient is a, let's see. Yeah, she did say then that she had left the home there. Well, she said they were separated, so it's they had left the home there. I'm looking at the note here.
I think you've flushed it, by the way.
You mentioned her weight sort of being an issue. Multiple times she lost a couple pounds. How was her weight between that first visit in January and compared to February 10th?
Her weight, okay, let's see. Her weight on 112 was 41 pounds. Her weight on 210 was 43 pounds. And then she came back on 224 was 41 pounds, 43.6, and then on 224 was 41.8.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Oh, thank God. Closing arguments.
Any
Facts.
redirect?
Nope. Nope.
No.
Nope. Nope.
Thank you, doctor.
Oh,
Closing
thank
arguments.
God.
All right. Thank you
Oh,
for your
you're
time,
welcome.
doctor.
Bye, doctor.
Okay, thank you very much.
My God.
Okay.
What are you doing
Should I
here,
hang up?
doctor?
You're welcome to log off.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
All right. Your Honor, I have no further witnesses.
All right. Let's
Open 3
see.
hours.
So, Ms. Johnson, you have the right to open and close if you wish to do so. How would you like to handle that?
I reserve.
All right, Mr. Patel.
All right, Judge, I'm going to be very brief on this. 90% of this case has been about ASIA and custody and the best interest of the child. That's what this is about. From the onset, as mentioned, this is a backdoor way of father trying to get custody of this child. This is not the appropriate venue. You
He's your
heard a
backdoor
witness
man,
from the only one, I would say, unbiased party who was there for this alleged box cutting. Never happened. I don't know how Mr. Chandler may have gotten these injuries. I don't want to necessarily imply that he caused them themselves. I don't know. But I can tell you that based off of the evidence and testimony that was presented here, that's not what happened. There is no violence. There are no injuries that were caused by Ms. Hargraves. The bulk of the testimony, the bulk of the case that was presented by the petitioner was regarding this child, regarding custody. And as the court has already mentioned, that the appropriate venue for those issues is the Superior Court, is the already existing legitimation case, which could have been addressed through the filing of some sort of emergency motion, some sort of request for emergency relief, but nothing was filed there. He didn't file anything either in the legitimation case or TPO wise when he was allegedly afraid back in 2021. He didn't file anything in 2022. He only filed something after she and the child had left the house. And then, purporting to be afraid for his life, he followed her to a park. That is not what someone who is afraid does. They don't follow their alleged abuser. His actions alone indicate that he was living there and continuing to live there because he was trying to gather evidence. That's what he said. He was trying to gather evidence, and that is not.
I don't even know
this is
anymore.
not the appropriate venue, and it's abuse of this type of litigation to bring the case here. I would also note that the petitioner in this case has failed to present any evidence regarding the payment of attorney's fees, and so any request for attorney's fees should be denied outright.
Thank you. Next.
All
Anybody?
right, Ms. Johnson.
Make it brief.
All right, Ms. Johnson.
Yeah, oftentimes I feel like in cases like this, when we see female on male domestic abuse, we are always trying to find some type of explanation. What did he do to provoke her? What did he do to cause her to behave this way? This is flawed thinking. It lacks equity and it's unfair. In some situations, such as my client, there isn't provocation. There isn't prior abuse by the male in a situation. It's simply a domestic violence situation. And as the court is aware, oftentimes there are no consequences when it is a female on male domestic violence situation. And that is what we're looking at here. Opposing counsel is attempting to deflect the court by discussing procedure. At the end of the day, the court allows numerous mechanisms for my client to address his issues. On an immediate basis, I'm sure this court is very aware of the backup that has occurred in DeKalb County as of late. On an immediate basis, after my client was hit with a box cutter, my client utilized the easiest, the most efficient, and the best emergency way that he could in order to get before this court. The fact that this court has the authority to address issues such as psychological testing, to address issues such as custody of a child and parenting time and child support they're within the authority of this court. So the fact that we took time to discuss it is because that's really one of the main issues that they have. They talk very little about the violence that has been committed against my client over the years. They talk very little about the mental health issues that Ms. Hargraves faces that my client discussed, and also that the DFACS person discussed. They focus more on why are we talking about custody, because the issue is that when my client came to get the ex parte order, he provided enough evidence for this court to say, not only should she have to stay away, but also he should be the person taking care of this child. You heard that was reinforced by DFACS against her own best judgment. She tried everything she could to not say anything. She did not want to compromise her position with DFACS, but at some point, after pushing from opposing counsel, she didn't have a choice. And what did she tell us? Yes, both parents love her. Ms. Hargraves is a nice lady, but at the end of the day, she has problems and she needs some help. She needs some psychological help. And that is the reason that this FMLA document was submitted. And in the document, she says, Mr. Chandler needs to be the person to take his child. Yeah, she said, I'm not saying that mom is not capable, but mom needs to get some things together because she's not in a position to do so. There has been numerous conversation as well and suggestion to deflect, to suggest that in some way my client was upset that she was leaving. My client has been done with this relationship since last year. My client has wanted the parties to separate since last year. This was a situation where he was not able to do that until she decided to do it, or he was going to have to evict her. She made a choice to move. As you heard, there was no argument, there was no fussing, there was no fighting. He was completely fine with her moving, even allowed her to use his car to pack up and leave. And at the time, did not even fight about custody. He was at the time fine with the child going with her, even though he thought that wasn't in his best interest. But because there's this pending custody case going on, we can address it there. But she had to take one last dig. And that is the reason that we're here. We wouldn't have even gotten to an issue of custody before this court had she not done what she did. She threw a box cutter. It is ridiculous to suggest that my client reached around his own back, cut himself with a box cutter, and bled out. That makes no sense whatsoever.
She did.
She did it. I heard the witness, the young child, and his testimony. The court will take that testimony as the court sees fit as far as credibility, especially with the mother being in the room. But I think the most important thing for the court to take from that is that the child did say that they were holed up in this room from September of 2022 until they left in February 2023. That goes direct. Opposing counsel is right. He's unbiased, or at least we will hope that he's unbiased. And he said that. That goes directly in line with what Ms. Lepper from DFACS said, which is she has herself and the two children holed up in this room for an extended period of time. They're homeschooled by her. She's the person that's taking them to the doctor. She's the person that's spending all of this time with them. And this child has had issues under her mother's care. I think it's significant for the court to note that also that, well, I'll say this.
Okay, good.
I think it's important if we also take a look at what Dr. Sultan has testified to. Dr. Sultan was clear that this child needs stability right now. Yes, there is a pending custody case going. Opposing counsel can file an emergency motion if he wants to do something different and allow the court to flesh this out. But on a temporary basis, it is imperative, according to the child's medical provider that has seen this child since birth, that this child has stability. She specifically stated that.
On the other hand, I'd also like to comment how much I like the judge's hair during this filibuster that I am Mirandering about. My God, was she ever shut up? I mean, we get the idea. The judge has already made up his mind. Nothing she's going to say is going to change his mind at this point. And that poor dog does need to go out again. And he needs to fix him a glass of water.
She testified that the doctor said that the child had anxiety and stress, and that was the reason for the throat situation. But Dr. Sultan just said she didn't have throat issues. The doctor was more concerned about the blinking issues and where that was coming from. Mom also previously testified that they had been dealing with the stool issue for a while, but the doctor confirmed the stool issue did not come.
The throat thing, I mean, maybe she just needed to take a second, clear her throat.
Jump, 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 jump. Everybody jump, 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 jump. Revelation.
3 weeks, she's having trouble sleeping, she's having trouble eating, and now she is afraid to pass stool. That is as of February 24th, and my client did not get that child back until, he said, last Saturday, so maybe about a week ago. So all of those issues came about since the child has been out of my client's home. My client testified and he provided evidence, Your Honor, of not only the box cutting issue that caused this petition to be filed, but also just a few months ago, his eye being swollen by her. Each time, she has no idea where this come from. These people are in the house together all day, every day. She has no idea that his eye was swollen, no idea that he has this cut on the side, no idea of anything. It's even important to note that she started her testimony by saying that he intentionally messed up the power in her space in order to aggravate her, but 2 sentences later testified that he paid for an electrician to come out. This issue has been happening since last year.
No poll today on We Gotta Chase with Peace and Love. I'm reporting Creed. No poll. Because as soon as this is over, we're jumping right into it.
And that is that this court issue a 12-month protective order, allow the civil court to address visitation, but keep the custody with my client, as he's obviously able to care for her, take her to school, take her to her doctor's appointments, make sure that she's getting everything that she needs, to require Ms. Hargraves, who does not think she has any issues, to undergo a psych evaluation and treatment. And I disagree as it relates to the issue of attorney's fees. She testified that she paid her attorney $3,500. She also testified that she earns approximately $2,400 per month. I stayed in my place as an officer of the court that I have been practicing civil litigation for 16 years. My flat fee of $2,500 is customary for this type of matter. And had she not behaved in the way she did, we would not be here. And my client would not have to pay those fees. So I am asking the court to require her to reimburse Mr. Chandler in the amount of $2,500 for her attorney's fees.
We're done.
Ooh. All right.
Okay. All right.
3 hours and some change later, and I fully accept responsibility for extending that time somewhat, as I am known to ramble, and I know some of my breaks took a few minutes longer than intended. All right.
So get to it.
I need 2 words out of
This
you,
is a
bud.
lot.
Yeah.
Oh
no.
And the struggle that I have in looking at this case is about a few things. I do agree that the bulk of what brings the parties here today is not issues between the parties. At the same time, Ms. Hargraves is going to find herself at the DeKalb County Jail with a stay-away order, apparently, irrespective of whatever happens today, based on the testimony that was given by the petitioner. I don't ever fail to issue a protective order based on the existence of a criminal bond, because a criminal bond could become moot at any point. That case could be resolved on a given day, or a prosecutor could decide to not move forward for whatever reason they choose, and then that bond no longer is in effect.
He's having trouble.
If this was a criminal trial, this would be an easy acquittal, and unfortunately it's not. And so I'm left with weighing the evidence that's presented from all the witnesses and determining which of these things is more likely than not. And based on what was presented today, I'm going to do the following. I am going to grant the protective order through February 27th, 2024. That would include temporary, emphasis on that word, custody of the child and visitation through Nia's place. Pursuant to their guidelines and approval, along with a psychological evaluation to include any mental health medications and services, if any are recommended. The order will be structured in a way that it will not be, it will be subject to modification in regards to the custody piece by any superior court judge who seems fit to do so. And in regards to attorney's fees, it's my, I can count on one hand the number of times that I've done it in the past year, and it has been, it may have only been once for that matter, and it was a case that was truly excessive violence with an overwhelming amount of evidence that was exchanged and discussed beforehand, and it was a hearing for the sake of re-victimizing the other party. You know, what I will say in this case is I think
how the attorneys broke up. Look at her.
Professionally throughout the hearing. I think at every moment of this hearing, which might even be a first. And they were, both of you were prepared. You were courteous to each other. You were courteous to other parties, including witnesses and the parties themselves. And I think the claims and defenses that were asserted by both parties, I don't feel were frivolous or ill-conceived or a waste of the court's time in any way. And so for that, acknowledging that this was a 3-hour hearing, I think it was I certainly would not, I would certainly be willing to categorize it as time well spent in a case worth hearing. And so to that extent, given what was being asked for and the stakes on the line, I don't think any of it was out of line or inappropriate. And so that will be my ruling for today. Ms. Hargraves, we're going to place you in a breakout room with Mr. Ellis, who is a compliance officer who'll just get
that
some,
is what they call the play on a mount, Creed. Would you do me a huge favor and everybody here and thank these people? Do you have music? If not, I have some.
You can grab some. I'm waiting for it to come around. Don't forget 405 East, Taco Tuesday. Maybe a little bit of an abbreviated one, but we're going to get into it as quickly as we can. And it's the Taco Tuesday Express. I'm glad so many people got on it today. Thank you guys. 3 freaking hours. God. Camel Toe, thank you so much. Michael, DM, Andy, Queen, Jennifer, Gary, who's handsome, the biggest stud he is. Fletcher, Amber, Matt, the Dream Weaver, Amy with a big old double Megaluya PayPal. Bless you one more time, Matt Dreamweaver ×2 and Queen Jennifer. Thank you guys so freaking much. There they just cut it. We'll see you here back in just a minute. So bye.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Like, love, do all the licking you want because we're done.